I call to order the regular Riviera Beach City Council meeting. It is October 21st. The time is 6:01 p.m. Madam Clerk?
Mayor Ronnie Felder.
Here.
Chairperson Julia Botel.
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Douglas Lawson.
Here.
Councilperson Trodrick McCoy. Councilperson Kashamba Miller Anderson.
Present.
Councilperson Shirley Lanier. Councilperson Shirley Lanier. Okay, Ms. Lanier, we can see you on the screen, but we can't hear you.
I can't hear.
Oh, there you go. We can hear you now. Thank you. Can you hear us?
She said no.
Didn't seem like it.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'll come back to calling her to
Okay.
show that she's in attendance. City Manager Jonathan Evans.
Present.
City Clerk Claudine Anthony is present. City Attorney Don Nguyen here. Councilperson Shirley Lanier. Madam Chair, members of the board, we see that Councilperson Lanier is present. We're just having some technical difficulties. You may proceed.
Thank you. We'll have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilwoman Miller Anderson.
Good God, am I the only one that could do the pledge here?
Any person who would like to speak on an agenda item, please complete a pink public comment card located outside prior to the item being taken up by City Council for discussion. Members of the public will be given a total of 3 minutes to speak on all items listed on the consent agenda and 3 minutes to speak on each regular item. The time limit for public comments may be reduced by a vote of the City Council based on the voluminous nature of public comment cards. In no event will anyone be allowed to submit a comment card to speak on an agenda item after the resolution is read or item is considered. Do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions from the manager or council?
Yeah. Yes, Madam Chair, we would like to take item 6 before item 4 for procedural purposes. The replat should go before the items that are listed as item 4 and item 5.
Say that again. Make sure the clerk gets it. You want to take item 6 prior to item 4?
Yes, item 4, 5, and 6 are about the same property, and we're requesting that item 6 be heard first because that is the approving of the plat application for the property.
Okay. And then item 4, and then item 5.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other additions, deletions, or substitutions? Madam Clerk, please let the record show that Councilman McCoy has joined the dais.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Do we have any disclosures by the mayor or council? Thank you. Could I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Councilperson McCoy.
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier. Pro Tem Lawson.
Yes.
Chair Botel.
Yes.
That motion is with Councilperson Lanier out.
Thank you. Could we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Negative, Madam Chair. I want to move number 10 up to
Oh.
consent. The routine $5,000 transaction that we're actually receiving money, and I would rather not have a presentation. I think he has another couple
microphone.
items that he'll
Yeah,
be,
I think Mr. McCoy is saying he'd like to move item number 10 onto consent. I can't imagine there would be any objection. Oh, Madam Clerk, could you please move item number 10 onto consent? And would someone care to make a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I prefer not to put that amount. Well, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Second.
Item number 10 to the consent
Yeah.
agenda. Okay.
Taking a vote? What are we doing?
So we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Madam Clerk?
Madam Chair, we do. We do have a comment on the consent agenda.
Okay, if you can fix that, I'll read all matters listed under this item are considered to be routine and action will be taken by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council person so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Madam Clerk, you can read the public comment.
Spain Lozman.
Spain Lozman. I'm the owner of multiple properties on Singer Island and a taxpayer. I talked about this last year, but it's relevant to decisions being made by elected officials to spend taxpayers' money, taxpayers who are residents of the city, and on this particular item, we're talking $120,000. Okay, I am not going to tolerate anybody sitting up there that's not a city resident, nor was a city resident the year before they were elected. Mr. McCoy has been using his mother's address for years. He doesn't live with his mother. We have extensive video surveillance of multiple addresses outside the city where he lives. He should not be an elected official.
Mr. Lozman, would you please confine your comments to the item on the consent agenda?
On this item tonight.
Mr. Lozman, confine your comments to the items on the consent agenda.
Who did not meet the requirements.
Mr.
I have a
Lozman.
problem with him voting, and I have 3 minutes to talk
Mr.
about this.
Lozman, please confine your comments.
$120,000 is a lot of money to spend, and the people that should be determining it have to meet the requirements to be an elected official, and McCoy is not an elected.
Mr. Lozman, that has nothing to do with the item on the agenda.
I'm going to remind you for every item tonight of that.
Yeah.
Mr.
If I can just have the personal privilege, Mr. Lozman, I'm sure you know where the courthouse is, so that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, thank you. We have no other public comments?
Madam Chair, members of the board, that concludes public comments
Thank
for
you.
the
We have a
consent
motion and
agenda.
a second to confirm the consent agenda, Madam Clerk.
Councilperson Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier. Councilperson McCoy.
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson.
Yes.
Chair Votel.
Yes.
That motion is
Madam Chair.
approved with
Could I-
Councilperson
yeah,
Lanier
just-
out.
I would like us to try to get Councilwoman Lanier's voice in the room if we can. She cannot hear us. I've just texted her to say, could she please try her phone? Walter, is there anything you can do to help in this regard? He's working on it, okay. If we can't get her to hear us,
Testing.
You can call the number.
could she call in? Walter, if you don't mind, I don't want to be distracted by texting her. Could you text her and see if she can call in rather than being on the screen?
Madam
Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you. Mr.
So testing, I want to get a sound check. Oh, that sounds better.
That's
I
better.
can hear myself. Okay.
Okay, item number 1, Madam Clerk.
Item number 2, you mean, Madam Chair?
We approved the consent agenda. I'm so sorry. And we approved item 10. Yes, item number 2, which was which is the proclamation, yes.
Proclamation for the House of Love Lanier's Domestic Violence Day.
Yes, from the Office of the Mayor, City of Revere Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, declaring October 25th as House of Love Lanier's Domestic Violence Awareness Day. Whereas domestic violence continues to be a major social crisis and healthcare concern in society that affects everyone in the community and requires us all to put forth every effort to bring forth an end to it. And whereas exposure to domestic violence in the home is considered child abuse and has lifelong effects upon children under the age of 4.
Mayor, can you pull your microphone?
Domestic Violence Council of Palm Beach County is coordinating a community-based response through advocacy, education, and prevention to reduce the impact of violence on families. And whereas Florida reported more than 104,914 incidents of domestic violence in 2018, which is lower statewide than incidents reported that previous year. Palm Beach County reported nearly 4,613 domestic violent crimes, including 9 homicides, half of the cases had evidence of substance abuse. A third has evidence of medically diagnosed mental health disorders, and 21% listed the predator displayed prior stalking behavior. And whereas Palm Beach County recognizes the vital importance of designating a time devoted to increasing the general public's awareness to hold forth a vision of the community free from domestic violence. This month, we recognize the survivors and victims of abuse whose courage inspires us all. We recommit to offering a helping hand to those most in need and must remind them that they are not alone. And whereas we honor the advocates and victim services providers who offer support during the darkest moments of someone's life, I encourage survivors and their loved ones who are seeking assistance to reach out by calling the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. Now, therefore, I, Ronnie L. Felder, Mayor of City of Riviera Beach, by the power vested in me by the residents of Riviera Beach, do hereby proclaim October 25th as House of Love and Near's Domestic Violence Awareness Day. In the City of Riviera Beach, I call all residents to speak out against domestic violence and support local efforts to assist victims of these crimes in finding the help and healing they need. The witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and cause the official seal of the City of Riviera Beach to be affixed on this 23rd day of October, 2019 AD.
Thank you, Mayor. Madam Clerk.
Item number 3, Kwanzaa 2020 celebration proposal.
Good afternoon. Everybody hear me okay? Can you hear me?
No, it's kind of low.
Okay.
Mr. Stevens, have you been able to get Councilwoman Lanier on? Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may, I've had the opportunity to discuss this matter in detail with Councilperson Lanier and then turn it over to the Speaker. It has been Councilperson Lanier's desire to see the City of Riviera Beach proceed forward with a Kwanzaa celebration and incorporate that as one of the annual events that we do in the City of Riviera Beach. And so we've had the opportunity to have multiple conversations and discussions with the ladies from Sophisticated Out Loud about how to properly and appropriately and culturally make sure that if this is an event that the City of Riviera Beach does in perpetuity, that we do it in accordance with all the sensitivities associated with an event that's so important to our community and to others that will be visiting our community. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the ladies from Sophisticated Out Loud.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nicole Cummings, partner to Lisa Burke. We have a quick presentation to give you visuals of what we'd like to do for the celebration.
Try to keep the mic close to your mouth.
Okay. Can you hear me okay? All right. Okay. Do we have the visuals coming up? Okay. So we're going to give you some quick visuals of what we propose for the celebration. Kwanzaa, which is derived from the Swahili word first harvest. Very difficult visuals. There we go. All right, so we do want to have the event here at the marina. Next slide. Again, we said it's going to be a Kinara lighting. So the Kinara is the basis of Kwanzaa. It's 7 days. It's 7 principles. We want to have a one-day festivity that celebrates the first lighting of the first candle, and then we'll have all of the displays that can stay up for 7 days, lighting each candle for the 6 days preceding the first candle lighting. We did have the...
Madam Chair, members of the board, you do have a copy of the presentation.
Okay.
You do, yeah.
Okay, so I'll go, if you have it in front of you. If you go to the first slide, this is the social distancing sectionals we'll like to have. We think this is a great way to make sure that we follow guidelines for the city and make sure that we have sectionals where families can go within that area. And we want to be like a bring your own picnic basket kind of thing where they can sit in these sectionals and they can bring their own picnic baskets, blankets, make it their own little area, and we can even have something like maybe like creative wars to say whoever comes with the best picnic area or attire to celebrate Kwanzaa. We can just kind of do that like a sectional wars, kind of like what they do with Dinner en Blanc, if some of you are familiar with that. They bring their own stuff and they set up their tables and they do their own decorations. So we want to do that with the social distancing sectionals. The principles of Kwanzaa, we don't want to do all 7 principles. We want to do maybe 4 major displays of the principles of Kwanzaa. So if we go to, we did the BYOB. If you go to the Umoja principle, that is family unity. So what that would be is when people arrive, they'll be able to take a picture in this life-size prop. So we have it up. Oh, no. Okay, so in this life-size prop that's on the 4th page, they'll be able to go and take pictures as they enter the park. Again, it's going to be an 8x8 frame, so that will be the first thing they'll see when they come in. The next thing will be the Kinara, which is on your next page. That's going to be another life-size event. A life-size statue is going to be 8 feet by 10. And again, we'll do the first lighting on that day, and we'll keep the Kinara lit for the 6 days after the event. So that will be another 8 by 10 life-size structure that we'll build. And let me also say this, these structures are going to be a one-time investment. So when we do the structures and we build them out, you can keep them for each year going on, and you can reuse them. Same with the sectional seating. You can build it out and use it for other events within the city. So these are one-time investments that you can use over and over again as we go on through the different years of Kwanzaa. The next one will be the Kwanzo Ornaments. So this will be our representation of Kumba to creativity. So again, life-size ornaments that we'll put anywhere within the park. It's a big structural display, just symbolizing the principle of Kumba. The next one is the Kwanzaa Book. That's going to be another life-size display we want to invest and build out. That can also be in the park. We want to spread them out, so everywhere they go, they'll see the different large-size displays for the principle of Kwanzaa. And then the last thing that we want to do is Kwanzaa, the 7 principles spelled out all throughout the park. That's your second to last slide. You'll see the letters there. So you can, again, use this each year. It's a one-time investment. These are going to be large. I'm about 5 feet, so let's say I'm not that large, but large enough. They're going to be high, spelled out words, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, all throughout the park. So when you enter, you'll get the first principle of unity. Then you can get self-determination, and we'll spell them out with those letters all throughout the park. And in addition, as we've said, it's all about the first harvest. So for the principle of Ujamaa, we feel as though a great addition to this will bring in your green market. So we already know you have a green market here in Riviera Beach. So part of Ujamaa is to build and grow your own. So if you bring the green market in that day, that would be another added touch to the principle of Kwanzaa. So we think that would be a great touch to just bring the community in and vendors in to do their own green market as well. Okay? And then just in addition, because we want to make it a celebration, we'll have drummers, that's part of Kwanzaa, poets, dancers, and we'll like to do maybe a known musical act. That's also an option that you can put on the table as well, just to make it a real celebration of Kwanzaa for the first day lighting of the Kinara. So these are some of the principles we would like to suggest for an annual event. Again, most of these things are a one-time investment. You build it out the first year, and you use it each year after that. Sorry that the work presentation speaks a little bit more to it, but I hope you got the gist I have in hand.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Questions?
Madam Chair,
Recognize.
would we get a amount that it would cost to have these items built out?
Currently, our overall budget for the event is $22,300.
And
The
that
build-out items are about coming in around $13,000. I'm sorry, did I say $22,000? The build-out items are about $13,000 to build out the life-size structures and the letters. That comes in around $13,000, but again, it's a one-time investment, and they're yours to keep for other events, even the letters, if you want to use the letters to build out for other events, other words.
So the 22.3 includes the things that need to be built out, and are you all running the program as well?
Yes, we'll coordinate the whole program. We'll do all of the coordination. We'll bring everything together. We'll do all the coordination and marketing for the event.
And for I see there's some performances. Are those fees in there as well for the people that will be performing possibly?
For the local, yes.
The local.
The more known entertainer, we did not put that in here. That's just an option if you decide to do that. Maybe we can get sponsorships for that. But for the local acts, like the drummers, the poets, the band for the day, they are in that number, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, you're recognized.
So I guess what's your ask for the city? I'm not exactly clear why this is in front of us. Is there a specific ask? And I mean specific because you showed us a presentation by you guys related to Kwanzaa, and it has Councilwoman Lanier's information, you know, as she's asked this to be placed on the agenda, but tell us what you're looking for.
We're looking to just get the event approved, to say that this is an event that we can do annually and continuously doing it yearly. That's what we're looking to do.
Okay, so
Madam Chair, if I may elaborate.
no, I want to ask some questions first, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, you're recognized.
Okay, so
Shirley's talking.
Oh, is it Shirley? Oh, she's here.
am I
Could you, Councilwoman Lanier, Councilman McCoy has some questions, and then if you can turn your volume up a little bit so we can hear you better, when he's done, I'll recognize you. Councilman Lanier, McCoy.
okay, so Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is a city council meeting. This is not
Yes.
where we authorize and approve special events. So unless there's something I'm missing, I would like to know why this is in front of us, and it's not clear from the backup nor from the presentation, but I don't have the interest in sitting at a meeting to discuss a special event with no backup and no materials that suggest there's any inclusion or any ask for us as a city council. And even if it was, I think this should have been filtered through city administration. And if this is the desire for us to have an ongoing event, I don't believe that this is halfway even appropriate to send us 10 slides and then tell us that this should be a recurring event. So I wanted to make sure that I put that out there before the manager got an opportunity to respond, because in any event, whatever you guys come up with, it's improper for it to be before us today, especially with just seeing the backup when we walk in the meeting, which only gives us visuals of what a presentation should be.
Thank you. Councilwoman Lanier, you're recognized.
No.
It's still very, very faint. Is it possible to turn up your volume?
You can ask questions, but it was only for the purpose of the council to let the council know of an upcoming event.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, you're recognized.
Madam Chair, and to build on the comments that were made by Councilperson Lanier, this is an event that Councilperson Lanier would like the city to consider long-term. The cost for the event is projected to be under $25,000, but as you can see, there is associated with the event that city spaces would have to be utilized. We know that the event will happen in December, so there is subsequent activities or items that would probably come before you with respect to any funding appropriation, but we think that we have available funds and we can do it under the $25,000 threshold. The question is, does the board support moving forward in this particular fashion to have an event like this in our community, have it added to the series of events that we already have have it as a city event as we move forward? The engagement with the young ladies from Sophisticated Out Loud is to ensure that we do it appropriately, and we are certainly going to seek opportunities for sponsorships to offset hopefully all of the costs, if not most of the costs, but we wanted to get the quote-unquote blessing from the board prior to the board and didn't want to have an event happen without the board being informed.
Thank you. So will you clarify the ask for this evening's meeting? Did you want us to vote to allow the planning to go forward?
It is our intent to receive a direction from the board to move the event forward, and then we can come back with any subsequent actions that are contemplated as part of the event. But obviously, as all of you know, events take a lot of time, organize and plan, so we wanted to get this in front of you sooner rather than later.
Thank you. So I'll ask if anyone wants to make a motion to that effect.
No, let's discuss this because
Okay.
clearly there's a lot that's still uncertain. So we got a presentation to turn around and suggest that it was a special event only to ask us to foot the bill. I mean, there's not even a budget build out here, right? So to suggest that we're going to give them the direction to go ahead and plan this, at what point do we see this? Because now you're asking us to expend public dollars without us even, Mr. Evans, give me a second, please. Without us even getting to the point of why this is significant, right? Why do we have to pay someone to do this? What happens in terms of us now going forward? Do we now take this as a starting place for all special events to be turned back on, be it public and private special events? There's a number of different factions that I think needs to be resolved before we start saying give the go-ahead, because I have folks that approach me on a daily basis. Perhaps I should just add all of them to the agenda and then let them come in as if this is the Shark Tank. But I just don't like that I'm getting caught off guard here and I'm being asked for a whole lot of information. I'm being asked to commit, in your words, Mr. Evans, of less than $25,000 when I got 8 slides. And I don't appreciate it, nor will I support it, because I think this is just not even proper. And then, even in the spirit of Kwanzaa, right, I really want to support this, but you can't expect us, after we've told people time and time again that it's not the time. We've coming through phase 2, the numbers are going back up, and here we are again. I don't like it at all. And I think if this is something that you guys want to do, probably make a policy that actually goes citywide across all events on how we receive events or consider events, because this is completely arbitrary and it goes against what we've already set forth in place. So until I can see something that's going to be the going policy going forward, then I can't support it, because it's, it depends on which council person presents it is when it gets credence or when it gets before the manager, and I don't appreciate it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Mr. Evans.
with regards to those points, the council person was bringing that forward because of the importance of the event, 1. 2, that nobody in the city of Riviera Beach from the staff side has coordinated such an event, so it is important to have at least the professional expertise for the first event, and then subsequent events. Obviously, city staff would assume responsibility of the event planning process. There are multiple opportunities to bring the performance budget and the cost for the event back to this board for consideration, but we want to be able to start putting together those nuances. But if there was not a desire from the board to move forward in that direction, we didn't want to waste anyone's time. So we wanted some feedback to say, in principle, we agree with the event moving forward, and we are acutely aware of the numbers and the health safety items, that if the numbers continue to trend upwards and we see ourselves going into a third wave, absolutely we would do everything to postpone the event, to do it in a digital format. But this is just one of your peers asking for support to move forward into the next phase, and we can have all the documents that the board may need ready and sent out to you within a week's time, or even have it at your next regular city council meeting if the board chooses to move in that direction. But we wanted to get the blessing to move forward before a lot of time, energy, and effort is expended.
Thank you. Would someone care to make a motion to allow
Madam Chair,
Mr.
just to make some comments, I want to thank the ladies from Sophisticated Out Loud. Thank you guys for the presentation. I think it's a very important event that we visit. Thank Councilwoman Shirley Lanier for bringing it to the table. Mr. Evans, Councilman Trajan McCoy is accurate, though, with bringing a full detailed report. I would like to support the event and move forward as long as you vet it to a point that is going to be safe for the residents. We get a full cost analysis, and we identify what's actually going to happen with the event and how quickly we can get this out. And then also I want to address the process of what other events we're going to be rolling out at this current condition, so that we can have that to the dais, hopefully by the next council meeting as well. So, Madam Chair, if I can make the motion to move forward with this event and prepare for this Kwanzaa event.
Second. Councilwoman Lanier, did you hear that? Councilwoman Lanier, did you want a second?
I mean, I'll second, but I do want to make comment.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, I mean, where are we with the Christmas? Are we doing Christmas? I know we canceled our 4th of July. Obviously, that was early on in the pandemic, but are we planning on doing the Christmas?
Our Christmas event and activity is going to be more of a drive-through.
And I mean, that's kind of my concern, because I know Ms. Lanier is pretty serious about COVID as well, and so I want to support the event, but I would prefer to do it on a smaller scale. I really would at this time. I mean, I know it takes time to get this activity together, and so to wait until November is probably not the best thing to do because you need time to be able to do it. But I'm right now just not comfortable with putting on such a large event. How many people would we be expecting based on the squares?
Well, we did the sectionals based on maybe about 100 sectional, about I think family size of about 18. I want to look at the slides again. Very spaced out, that they have their private area, sit down and follow within the guidelines.
And so that would be the only area so would we be limited to 100, or are we saying people
really
can sit outside of the square?
Council, these are just ideas and suggestions.
Right.
And we're willing to accommodate just accordingly.
Madam Chair, if I may, we have built out models to scale up, scale down, as well as having this day is for families only, this day, from this time to this time, ages. So we've had discussions about not creating an event where there's a mass number of folks. The boxes that were built out was with the understanding that if we decided to show a movie or if we wanted to have an entertainer, that would be an option. But if we choose not to go in that direction, those don't come into play. So we can come back to the board. If the board agrees with moving forward with the event in some form or fashion, we can show you 3 or 4 different options as it relates to how we can safely do the event, because that was something that was certainly communicated by Councilperson Lanier, that didn't want to have an event that was quote unquote a super spreader event, and we don't want to do that, especially in light of all our events moving to more of a drive-through fashion.
Right, and so for me, I can support the idea of having something for Kwanzaa. My vote would not be to say, yes, I'm ready to move forward with this type of event right now. I do want to see some other options. So that's kind of, and obviously if that price, can adjust with it, which it should, that would be great as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anything else? Mr. McCoy?
Can you give us a approximation of how long, how many hours?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
How many
that.
hours, the length of the event?
That's really up to the city. I mean, we were saying about 4 hours, 4 to 5, but again, we're here just to give suggestions, and we will follow whatever guidance that we're given.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
if we could just have Mr. Evans go ahead and vet this idea a little bit more, coming back with some of the concerns that the council has expressed, and bring it to the next council meeting, because I know they want to get into the planning sessions and move forward with the decision if we decide to. So Mr. Evans' capacity, if we could talk about that, if we could talk about the time frame and all the details that have been addressed by my colleagues.
Thank you. Mr. McCoy?
I would ask that you do your
Amend the motion. I'm going to amend the motion to state that we're going to ask Mr. Evans to vet this idea in more detail and bring it back to the dais at the next council meeting.
Could we, thank you. I have one small comment, and that is, I agree with Mr. McCoy that I think we would, as a council, like to see what the policy is going forward with events, because I too have been asked about various events, and I've had to say to people, I'm sorry, you can't have that event because the city has a policy that we're not having large gatherings, so that we don't have super spreader events going on. So I think we need a policy for everyone. So if we could have some clarity on that, it would be good.
And that's one of the items I'll be talking about.
Okay, great. Anything else?
Well, I want to just make this comment. I mean, if we're talking about 22,300, that's, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I just want to put in your mind, that's $223 per person
And
that the city,
I misspoke when I said 100. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say 100. I apologize. That's really up to the council to decide how many people would like to be there. So I apologize for saying 100.
well, I mean, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and go with Councilman Lawson's because, you know, obviously you got to look at the cost and then obviously how long this program is going to work. So I would like for us not to give an approval, but obviously have this vetted out a little further.
Right.
So we're looking for a
So,
second and a vote to move
We have
forward.
a second. We have a motion and a
Well, it's
second.
stand,
No.
my second stand.
Does the second stand?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm having some technical difficulties. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me or not.
We have a motion and a second on the floor you want to restate it for Councilwoman Lanier's benefit, Mr.
Thank you.
Lawson?
Councilwoman Lanier, the motion is to move forward with giving Mr. Evans the opportunity to vet this idea, to address the council's concerns, and bring it back to the next council meeting to make a decision if we're going to move forward with the event.
Would bring in different options, Mr. Lawson.
Yes, ma'am, with additional options that we can move forward with.
And what are those options?
They're going to work on it.
They're going to, the city administration will work on those.
With Councilperson Lanier.
With your input,
Councilperson
of course.
Lanier, we'll work on some options here with the board.
Okay.
Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Botel.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Okay, let's take what was item number 6 and is now item number 4.
Resolution number 97-20, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving plat application from Hinterland Group Number 2 LLC, requesting plat approval to plat 2 contiguous vacant lots associated with 6840 North Haverhill Road and 4922 Dyer Boulevard, known by parcel control number 5642-4236-00003050, totaling 3.159 acres, and parcel control number 5642-4236-00003070, totaling 3.0 acres of land, having an industrial future land use designation, a limited industrial zoning designation, and providing for an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
Thank you.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you. We'll hear public comments and then we'll have the presentation.
No. You go to
Presentation.
Yeah.
go to Mr.
Madam Chair, at this time, I'm going to ask for Development Services Director, Mr. Clarence Servin, to make the presentation.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, and members of the board.
Good evening.
I was told to begin talking. The item before you is the plat for the Dyer Road Industrial Project. It is related to the subsequent 2 agenda items. Therefore, we moved it to the front. So in order for the 2 site plans to be approved that will come after it, this plat would have to be approved, which will reconfigure the lots at the site. It is the property. All right, the property, as you can see, is located east of Haverhill Road and south of Dyer Boulevard. This is an aerial view of one of the properties that is existing at the location. And this is the second property existing at the location in its current configuration. And this is a survey of the property. On the screen now is the plat that is before you that would reconfigure the lots so that they are both approximately of the same proportions. And after the plat is approved, there would be two separate operations going on the eastern property as well as the western property. The owner is Hinterland Group No. 2, LLC. The purpose, again, is to establish two lots comprised of 3 acres and 3.159 acres on the western parcel that would be created by this plat. The lot reconfiguration is for two separate proposed contractor storage yards. Concurrently being proposed in conjunction with this plat is site plan application SP 19-19, as well as site plan application 19-20. Consistency with Florida statutes, Chapter 177, Zoning Code, Chapter 30, subdivisions, and will have no adverse impacts to the surrounding industrial corridor. City staff recommends approval of this plat application from the Hinterland Group No. 2 to establish two separate parcels.
Sorry, Madam Clerk, did you have public comments?
Thane Lozman.
Thane Lozman, 5101 North Ocean Drive, Singer Island, and another 10 properties. For the record, I want to preface my comments. I object to Chadwick McCoy participating in this since he has not lived in the city for 1 year prior
Mr.
to
Lozman,
running
please
for
confine
office.
your comments to the item
I'm going
at
to
hand.
preface my
Thank you.
comments. Each time I get up here, he should not be participating. You have an obligation as chairperson to confirm the information that we have photographic evidence of where he is and what
Mr.
goes
Lozman,
on.
please
So you
confine your comments.
swore to uphold the charter and the Constitution. You have responsibility to look into that, okay? Because you're not doing your job if you don't.
All right.
Mr. Sermons quoted Chapter 117 Zoning Code, Chapter 30. It will not have a negative impact on the surrounding industrial corridor. I'd like specifically, because there's no more white binder that has the backup. I don't know why there's no white binder. Do we just change the rules? We're not going to provide the public with the opportunity to see the information. Anyway, so it has no impact on the surrounding industrial corridor. I want Mr. Sermons to talk about all the residential houses that are immediately to the south of this project. What impact is it going to have on them? What are the hours they're going to be able to work on this heavy equipment? Is this going to be from 9 to 6? Is it going to be in the middle of the night? You know, there's a lot of people that live around there, and he did not discuss that. You know? I don't think it's going to have any impact on an industrial area. But how would you like to live right next door when they're taking a crane apart or doing whatever they're doing? Does anybody care about the public? Apparently not.
Madam Chair, members of the board, that completes public comment.
Thank you. Any other discussion, questions? Madam Clerk?
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson, Councilperson Shirley Lanier, Councilperson Lanier, Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Votel.
Yes.
Madam Chair, members of the board, that motion is approved with Councilpersons Miller Anderson and Lanier out.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, is our timer going to be up on the screen when we...
I have it up on my side.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So item number, what was item number 4?
Resolution number 95-20, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving site plan application for a contractor storage yard and accessory office use totaling approximately 3.159 acres located at 6840 North Haverhill Road, associated with parcel control numbers 5642, 4236, 00, 000, 3050, 5642, 4236, 00, 000, 3070, having an industrial future land use designation, a limited industrial zoning designation, and providing for an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr.
Madam Chair, members of the board, if I can have Director Clarence Sermons of Development Services make a presentation.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. This item is for the site plan approval of Dyer Industrial West, site plan 19-19. Same applicant as the plat, which was the previous agenda item, Hinterland Group Number 2, LLC. The applicant is requesting site plan approval for a contractor storage yard and accessory office use. This subject site is located at the southeast corner of the intersection of North Haverhill Road and Dyer Boulevard. It is 0.447 miles north of Military Trail, addressed as 6840 North Haverhill Road, identified by parcel control number 5642 4236 00 3050. The subject property description and uses are as follows. The parcel size is 3.159 acres. The existing use is vacant. It is undeveloped in terms of having structures on it, but it has been in use as a contractor storage yard for approximately 5 years by the applicant. So although there has been no structures on the site, there has been operations taking place there. The zoning is limited industrial, and the future land use is industrial. The adjacent property uses, to the north, there is also IG or general industrial zoning. To the south, the residential plan unit development, Turtle K, is located to the south. To the east is also limited industrial, and to the west is Palm Beach County owned conservation land. Again, the proposed use is a contractor storage yard. Zoning regulations. This use is consistent with the limited industrial zoning district. It is consistent with the development patterns of this industrial corridor where it's located, and it complies with the requirements of the city's land development regulations. The proposed use is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, and the proposed use is compatible with surrounding parcels. Staff recommends that the council approves the proposed site plan application for a contractor storage yard and accessory office use with the following conditions. 1 to 2 year landscaping performance bond for 110% of the value of the landscaping. 2, construction and landscaping improvements must be initiated within 18 months of the effective date of this resolution. The condition that council authorizes staff to approve future amendments to this site plan administratively, so long as the site plan does not deviate greater than 5% of the originally approved site plan. Condition 4, the development must receive final certificate of occupancy from the city for all buildings and units approved within 5 years of the approval of the site plan, or this resolution will be null and void and they would have to reapply. 5, all future advertising must state that the development is located in the city of Riviera Beach. 6, once approved, this resolution shall supersede any previous site plan approval resolutions associated with this property. And the 7th condition is due to the proximity to existing residential uses and limited industrial zoning designation, the open storage of goods and materials shall not exceed 20 feet in height per City Code 31-363. Additionally, any equipment or vehicles stored on the site, including but not limited to crane arms, shall be lowered to the lowest possible level upon close of business to mitigate visual impacts. And since we have our visuals up, I will go back so you can see the site location and the elevations.
Thank you, Mr. Sermons. Madam Clerk, we have public comment.
Thane Lozman.
Thane Lozman, 5101 North Ocean Drive, and another 10 properties on Singer Island. Again, I'm going to preface my comments every time I come up here
Mr.
saying
Lozman,
that McCoy is illegally participating in this meeting.
Comments to the
He did
item
not meet
on
the
the
requirements
agenda.
to be an elected official.
If you continue to do this, I'm not
I
going to
can
have
preface
you
my
called on.
comments before I address the
No,
project.
you can
okay?
confine
I
your
can't.
comments to the agenda
I
item.
can address my
You
comments.
can
You don't
confine
want to
your
follow the
comments to
rules,
the agenda
I will follow
item.
them.
Yeah, those are the rules, Mr. Lozman.
No, the rules are I can preface my comments. That's what the
they're
rule
not.
is. Yeah, you're supposed to conduct a legal meeting, and you're not
Mr.
doing
Lozman,
it.
if you have comments about this
Okay,
item.
I'm not. You're taking my time away.
Yeah.
Okay, the world doesn't revolve around you, Miss Botel, as much as you think it does. Okay? My question, I have 2 questions. I think it was, perhaps it was Kashama Miller Anderson brought it up years ago. You're building all these new buildings. What contractors locally are going to be participating in the construction of these projects? What is the tax implication of this project on the city's tax rolls? Did anybody ask any questions? You know, prior councils, they were always concerned, let's put people back to work in the city. Who's building the project? Where's the local participation? Mr. Evans, why aren't you doing your job and saying, hey, here's a list of local contractors. We have these new projects. X, Y, and Z is going to build them. Does anybody care? Or you just go through the motions, even if you don't live in the city? You should have local participation of contractors in this city. Times are tough. There's not many new projects. I see 2 new projects here tonight. Where did Mr. Sermons? Did you reach out to anybody? Did you talk to the applicant? Where's the applicant? How come he's not here saying he's going to do something positive for the city? What is the increase in the tax rolls going to be? Where are some of the impact that's going to benefit Riviera Beach? I haven't heard any of that. I've heard a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but I haven't heard anything that's going to benefit this city, specifically the people that work and live here. You know, oh, we're going to try to keep the crane height below 20 feet? Yeah, I'm sure people are going to love looking to a 20-foot crane in their backyard. I want to know how it's going to benefit the city, and you guys have the responsibility to ask those questions that prior councils have, and you just sit there and just do nothing. What about you, Lawson? You're supposed to be concerned about local job participation in the city. I know Mayor Masters, that's always the first question he asks. Where's our mayor tonight? Mr. Felder, you care about people working in the city?
Madam Chair, members of the board, that concludes public comment on
Thank
this
you.
item.
Do we have any questions or comments? Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Councilperson Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier. Councilperson McCoy.
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson.
Yes.
Chair Botel.
Yes.
That motion is approved with Councilperson Lanier out. Resolution number 96-20, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving site plan application for a contractor storage yard and accessory office use totaling approximately 3.00 acres located at 4922 Dyer Boulevard, associated with parcel control numbers 564242, 36000000, 3070, 5642-4236, 00003050, having an industrial future land use designation, a limited industrial zoning designation, and provide an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Mr.
Madam Chair, if I can have the Director of Development Services, Mr. Clarence Sermon, present this item.
Thank you.
Sorry, will be the other presentation for Dyer East. Again, this item is the same applicant as the last two items that were before you, the Hinterland Group Number 2 LLC. For this one, the applicant is requesting, again, a site plan approval for a contractor storage yard and accessory office use. This is the property location in this former configuration. Sorry, the zoning is limited industrial. The lot size is 3 acres, and the surrounding land uses are industrial as well, except for the south, which is the residential planned unit development of Turtle Cay. This is a survey of the property. And here is the plat which was just approved a moment ago, showing the site configuration. The site plan is shown here. Again, the proposed use is a contractor storage yard as well as accessory office. The building square footage would be 5,895. There would be a wall sign, and then there is a concrete wall around the site 6 foot high. The site has 2 ingress-egress points along Dyer Boulevard, excuse me. Shown now is the proposed site plan for the structure on the site. The west and east elevations are shown on the slide before you. And here are the north and south elevations and the sign for the business, as mentioned a moment ago. And here are colored elevations of the building. Colored elevations of the north and south elevations of the building. Before you is the proposed landscape plan of the site. It is landscaped on all borders, including the residential border, which has an additional 10 feet buffer to the residential use to the south. And there is already an existing 50-foot landscape buffer on the existing residential tract to the south. Staff recommends approval of this site plan with the following conditions. A 2-year landscaping performance bond. Construction and landscape improvements must be initiated within 18 months of the date of this resolution. Council authorizes staff to approve future amendments of the site plan administratively, so long as they do not deviate greater than 5% from this originally approved plan. The development must receive final certificate of occupancy from the city for all structures within 5 years of the approval of this resolution, or it will be considered void. All future advertising must state that the development is located within the city of Riviera Beach. Once approved, this resolution shall supersede any previous site plan approval resolutions associated with this property. Prior to issuance of building permit, the Florida Power and Light 10-foot easement on the north end of the site shall be abandoned. Prior to issuance of a building permit, a copy of the Palm Beach County driveway and drainage permit shall be provided to the City Public Works Department. And finally, due to the close proximity to existing residential uses and limited industrial zoning designation, the storage of goods and materials shall not exceed 20 feet in height per city code. Additionally, any equipment or vehicles stored on the site, including but not limited to crane arms, shall be lowered to the lowest possible level upon close of business to mitigate visual impacts. And in interest of the residential community to the south, we did check with our code compliance division to see if there was a history of any complaints from this site of the residents staying there, and there were none except for one related to preparation for a hurricane coming and a resident wanting to make sure that those crane arms were lowered, which is part of the reason that we have this condition listed under here as well. And that concludes staff's presentation on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Sermons. Madam Clerk?
Fane Lozman, Bessie Brown.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Lawson.
While Mr. Lozman's on his way here, I just wanted to kind of make the comments to preface that. Mr. Lozman, a lot of the council, we do have our agenda review, so some of the questions and concerns are addressed with our city manager prior to the meeting. In addition to that, we were waiting on item number 5 to address some of the additional concerns that I believe you outlined prior. So item 5 actually addresses some of the landscaping. It addresses the compliance and code compliance, and it also addresses the violations. So I think you kind of jumped the gun when you were requesting us to ask questions and concerns, because all 3 of these items are actually falling within the code that we're actually addressing tonight. So go ahead, Mr. Lozman. Thank you.
Fane Lozman, I've gone to hundreds of city council meetings going back to 2003. I'm quite aware of what the rules are, having attended Miami-Dade County, Palm Beach County, North Bay Village, Biscayne Park. So certainly when there is no backup book that's normally present, the white book, people can ask questions. They should be informed. And you bring a backup book, maybe some of these questions wouldn't be asked. But it's not credible for the audience to not have the backup, show pictures on the screen, and then be able to ascertain what's going on. And historically in North Bay Village, if somebody has a question, they bring the director back up and he answers the question. Here, no one seems to care. And, you know, like for example, by the way, Fane Lozman, and I object to Mr. McCoy participating in this since he does not live in the city and did not for a year prior. One of the questions I had that I had not heard before is the 20-foot requirement. You should have a 20-foot structures not taller than 20 feet. Well, if you're living with all this industrial equipment right up on your backyard fence, that's not really in the best interest of a property owner. That will reduce their property value. If somebody wants to go buy their house and goes, what's all that stuff in your backyard? He goes, oh, well, that's industrial equipment that they put in there. Did they give notice to the people within 300 feet of this project? I didn't hear that. Are they supposed to give notice for 300 feet? And if it's an industrial area, did they say, why don't you keep all your industrial equipment in the northern half of the property instead of the southern half? It's not mandatory you approve a site plan application. You can ask for modifications to accommodate the taxpayers in this city. I didn't hear anybody ask for anything. Why does that equipment have to be right up on a residential wall? Why can't it be in the front of the property? Why can't you redesign the site plan and minimize the impact on the residents? Because no one cares to ask those questions. That's the question that should be asked. I want to know why 20 feet of equipment is going into the backyards of residential customers, why there's an accommodation to change that site plan around to try to minimize that visual impact. But I'll ask the question, you'll go ahead and vote. No one will ask that question because no one cares.
Bessie Brown.
Bessie Brown. I'm here about we have no backup to look at and all of that. Why is it not you're not prepared for the backup so that I could ask a question if I wanted to? There's no books nowhere. You know, did you expect nobody to come? You know, basically, I'm here because there's no backup on this item, and I don't even know what it's about. And you all need to get these books in here tonight, because you're voting on some expensive things and things that we don't even know what's going on because we haven't even seen it.
Madam Chair, members of the board, that completes public comment for the item.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Sermon, The 50-foot buffer landscaping had an additional 10-foot buffer added on that the client recommended, or that wasn't required by the city, correct?
The 50-foot buffer is on the residential property that's already existing, and then the buffer that's on their property was requested to add additional mitigation for potential impacts on the residential properties.
Okay, and that was a 10-foot additional buffer.
Correct, as well as a 6-foot masonry wall.
Perfect. And I think those were the only questions. Mr. Evans, would we be able to, for the next meeting, have the backup here for our residents?
We can certainly arrange for some type of way for books to be provided for individuals. The only concern that we have is if we have a book that folks can flip through, is that we don't want to have a situation where multiple persons are touching any particular.
Okay.
Multiple persons. We'll handle that.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
And in the meantime, of course, all of our backup is online, so people can access. Can we have some order, please? There is plenty of opportunity for people to. There is plenty. Excuse me. The city manager said that he would be working on getting a book here. The problem with having a book is that multiple people might touch it and therefore spread the disease. What we don't want to have happen is that more of our residents become ill. Our backup is always posted online. You can look at it online many days before the meeting happens, so it's all there for you to see. Thank you. Next item.
Madam Chair, we need to take a vote on the item.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Councilperson Lanier.
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy.
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson.
Yes.
Chair Botel.
Yes.
Unanimous vote. Item number 7, resolution number 98-20, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a memorandum of understanding with Palm Beach State College for professional development services, authorizing the finance director to make payment and provide an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
So moved.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could have Fire Chief John Curd present this item.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
John Curd, Fire Chief. Very simple item. This is a very basic agreement with Riviera Beach Fire Rescue and Palm Beach State Community College, entering into an agreement to allow us to more effectively and efficiently assist our firefighters with career development. This is for promotional exams, CEUs, accreditations, certifications, specialty training and extrication, search and rescue, those things that we would expect of our firefighters. And this is just simply an agreement to allow us to move in that direction and be a little more efficient in our operations.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments on this item?
Thane Lozman.
Thane Lozman, 5101 North Ocean Drive. I want to preface my comments. Mr. McCoy should not be sitting up there and voting on this item. Contrary to what Ms. Botel may think, a significant number of West Side residents do not have internet service. T-Mobile is trying to bring service to
Mr. Lozman, if you have a comment about the item on the agenda, no. If it's on the topic of this item on the agenda, you may speak. If it's not, please sit down.
I have not had a chance to review this item because the white book that's been here since I moved to Riviera Beach in 2006 has not been present at the meetings. There's a white binder. It's always been at the meetings. Sometimes it's been 2 or 3 of the same white binders, and it's not here tonight. And if it is, show me where it is, and I'll go look at it.
It's not here, and it's not going to be here while COVID is with us.
You can have a white binder for people to look at. If they want to put some
Mr.
gloves
Lozman,
on, they can look at it.
if you have comments about this agenda item, please make them.
You're going to keep arguing and you let people make a public comment. If you don't let people make a public comment, don't be a public official. But people have a right to comment, okay?
On the agenda
people
item.
do not have internet service on the west side. They cannot review the agenda item. That's an insult to people that don't have internet service. You need to have a white binder here, or you know what you do? You print up 20 white binders and you give somebody a copy of it. How about that, Botel, so they can take one home with them and keep it? But you don't deprive them of the information when you're spending their taxpayers' dollars, okay? That's their money. It's not your money. And the rest of the council should say, you know something? If we're worried about COVID with a white binder, you print up 20 copies, and if somebody wants a copy to take home like Ms. Brown, she can. But a lot of people cannot get it off the internet, and you're depriving them of the information of what you are voting on, and that's shameful.
Other comments?
Madam Chair, members of the board, that completes public comment on this item.
Thank you.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Botel,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Item number 8, resolution number 9320, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving the third amendment to the interlocal agreement between the Board of County Commissioners, Palm Beach County, Florida, and the City of Riviera Beach, Florida, extending the completion date for the on-the-job training program from September 30th, 2020 to September 30th, 2021, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement and provide an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have public comments on this item. The acceptance of public comments on this item is now closed.
Thank you, Madam
So moved.
Second.
City Manager.
Madam Chair, if I can have Reentry Services Director, Mr. Ori Bullard, present this item.
Good evening, Chair and Council and Honorable Mayor. Ori Bullard, Director of the Justice Service Center, affectionately known as the Reentry Center. What you have before you today is an amendment to our Smart OJT Reentry program. We received this grant in 2017, and it was designed to be a 3-year grant. And because the county didn't start until 2018, they're pushing the end of the year, the end of the term to 2021. And so we will be going to September 30th, 2021, and that allows for an evaluation period at the 3rd year of the grant.
Thank you. Public comment. Madam.
Shane Lozman.
Shane Lozman, 5101 North Ocean Drive, and 10 other properties in Riviera Beach. I want to preface my comments that Mr. McCoy should not be participating in this process tonight, as he's not a duly elected official for meeting the requirements per the city charter. I would like to know what the fiscal impact is to this. You know, if I ask a question or anybody asks a question, if the gentleman there has an answer, he should give us the answer. What is the fiscal impact to the budget? Do you think it's sufficient? Do you think it's not sufficient? How many people are being trained through this job site? Who decided that it should be extended for another year? How about some backup as to what this is going to cost the taxpayers and how many people are being affected and what was the motivation to extend it? Tell us a little about what the fiscal impact of this is.
Madam Chair, members of the board, that completes public comments on this item.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Botel,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Thank you. Number 9.
Item number 9, resolution number 91-20, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving a memorandum of agreement between the Lloyd's Place, Inc. and the City of Riviera Beach, Florida, accepting funding in the amount of $267,500 for the implementation of reentry services from October 1st, 2020 to September 30th, 2023, authorizing the Director of Finance and Administrative Services to set up a budget for the same and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement and providing for an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
Second.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I can have Mr. Ori Bullard, Director of the Justice Service Center, present this item.
Thank you.
Good evening again, Ori Bullard. And so what you have before you here is an acceptance of our Second Chance Act grant that we applied for as a collaborative effort with the Lord's Place in West Palm Beach and Gulfstream Goodwill in West Palm Beach. And essentially what this would do is just expand our reentry services and provide for us an additional case manager and a peer advocate over a 3-year term. And we went in as a sub-recipient. The Lord's Place is the lead agency, and we're a sub-recipient, so we would be kind of trickle-down agency for these grant funds.
Thank you.
Payne Lozman.
Payne Lozman, 5101 North Ocean Drive, and 10 other properties on Singer Island. Thank you, Mr. Bullard, for explaining how much the dollars are. What you haven't explained is why are we dealing with a West Palm Beach entity? Why aren't we trying to bring those dollars and being spent in this type of how should you say, this type of project that's going to benefit these individuals? Why can't we do that in the city of Riviera Beach? Are there restrictions on that if we're getting the grant? You know, the whole idea to try to rebuild Riviera Beach. Why, you know, these are some of the questions that I want to know. These are some of the questions that the public wants to know. That's a lot of money. Why are we farming that out to someone outside the city named Lord's Place? You know, does anybody care about the residents of Riviera Beach, the businesses here? If this is our money, why can't we create something here? I don't even know what the Office of Director of Justice Services, is that a new position? I've never heard of that until tonight. You know, these are some of the questions. And then if people ask the questions, normally a chairperson would say, can you please answer some of these questions for the public? And finally, as I'm going to say all night long, I want to preface my comments that Mr. McCoy should not be participating in this meeting tonight, and during general public comments, I will lay out all the facts for the residents of the city to know why.
Madam Chair, members of the board, that concludes public comments on this item.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from council?
Madam Chair, if I may, to the comment that was made, because I don't want misinformation being circulated to the community with regards to there's no service being contracted out. Actually, the city is a recipient of $267,000 to expand services to those members in our community. So wherever the money comes from, we're fortunate to be able to be a recipient and add additional case managers to help those returning citizens that are coming to our community. So it's actually a benefit, and our staff is being able to be expanded at no cost to the taxpayers in Riviera Beach.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. And could you remind our citizens how long this position has been in place?
As far as the Justice Service Center, Mr. Bullard, you can speak on when the program was established.
The program was established in 2007, and so the position was there. I started in the position in 2013.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just wanted to thank Mr. Bullard for our call this week. It was very enlightening for all the information you gave me, details about the program, the reentry program, and also some of the other programs that you're going to be working on. So thank you again. You're doing a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate
it. Thank you, Mr. Bullard.
Councilperson Lanier.
Oh,
Councilperson Lanier.
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy.
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson.
Yes.
Chair Botel.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
And now
item number 10, resolution number 92-20, a resolution of the City Council.
Moved to consent.
Oh, that was. Thank you, Councilperson McCoy.
Thank you.
Item number 11, resolution number 90-20, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving an interlocal agreement between the Board of County Commissioners, Palm Beach County, Florida, and the City of Riviera Beach, Florida, accepting funding in the amount of $321,069 for the continuation of the reentry services from October 1st, 2020 to September 30th, 2021, authorizing the Director of Finance and Administrative Services to set up a budget for the same, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement and providing for an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I can have Mr. Ori Bullard, Director of Justice Service Center, present this item.
Good evening once again. Our final item that we have tonight is for our interlocal agreement with Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners, and this is our standard program contract that we do each year. And so our total allocation is $321,000. And so one point of note is that we typically get about $235,000. And so the county saw some of the work that we're doing as it relates to our OJT and construction. And so they expanded the amount and it gave us an additional about $80,000 to continue our construction OJT program.
Great.
So that was a benefit to us. This allocates for 4 case managers and also support services, such as housing, employment assistance, identification assistance, birth certificate, education, a myriad of things. So that's what these funds will go to.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Thane Lozman.
Thane Lozman, 5101 North Ocean Drive, and 10 other properties on Singer Island. I did look at the Lord's place at 2808 North Australian Avenue. They say that's in West Palm Beach. I understand these grant dollars are coming to the city. That's all well and good to help these individuals that need this help. But why aren't those grant dollars being spent in a facility in Riviera Beach? That's the question that's not been addressed. And as far as you, Mr. Evans, I don't recall any Justice Service Center having come before us, maybe once, but I don't recall it. I don't know, does this guy work for the city? Did he work for somebody in West Palm Beach? Who is this gentleman? I don't recall seeing him here previously. But the point is, if we're getting grants, that's great. Why aren't those grant dollars being spent at a facility in our city to help these individuals that need that help? You know, that's the question I have. You're talking about what? Almost $1 million on some of these items tonight, if you add them all up. Why aren't we spending that money in a facility here? Why didn't the Lord Center open a little branch in Riviera Beach and hire Riviera Beach residents to run it? Why do we have to give these dollars to West Palm? Mayor Felder, I guarantee you, Reverend Masters would ask that question. Why aren't you asking that question?
Let me say this, Mr. Lozman.
Okay.
If you know about the justice system or the justice program, well, I'm going to tell you.
All I know is it's not in Riviera Beach.
It is in Riviera Beach.
Okay.
The money's being spent in Riviera Beach.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, that concludes public comment.
Any other questions or
Madam
comments?
Chair? Yes, me. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Bullard, for your presentation. Since I've heard it so many times about the money being spent in West Palm Beach, I know you've participated a few years in the Citizen Leadership Academy and spoken quite a bit about what your program does. Could you just share why we do service some of the West Palm Beach residents and how that ties in with the money from the county?
Oh, no problem. So this is a county initiative, but this is a city program. So in 2007, the city joined up with the county to provide service to the north end. And so this is an in-house program. I'm a city employee, as I've been since 2007. All of our staff are city employees. And what we do is, with the other agencies, Lord's Place and Goodwill, we've divided the county into 3 parts. And so the money that's coming in here is being spent in the city to help men and women reintegrate back into society. And so there are a myriad of services that we provide throughout that reentry process. So it's essential for us to have support services such as housing and all those other things as we move forward to kind of get these men and women established back into our areas. And so we've been a collective since 2007. We've had these 3 agencies working together since 2007, and we find that we receive more money when we apply as a collaborative as opposed to as just as a city by itself, because we're in the county, so we're receiving county funds, so it allows us to be able to work with anyone within the county, but specifically Riviera Beach.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier?
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson?
Yes.
Chair Botel?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bullard.
Madam Chair, members of the board, the time is now 7:25. Would you like to proceed to item number 12?
Number 12. Okay, perhaps we'll go. Yeah, let's do public comment now.
Madam Chair, would you read the statement into the record, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Public comment shall begin at 7:30 p.m. unless there is no further business of the City Council, in which event it shall begin sooner. In addition, if an item is being considered at 7:30 p.m., then comments from the public shall begin immediately after the item has been concluded. Any person who would like to speak during public comments, please fill out a public comment card located at the front desk and give it to staff before the public comment section is announced.
Madam Chair, members of the board, being that the time is now 7:26, we will close the acceptance of public comments at 7:30. Is that the pleasure of the board?
Yes.
Thank you. Cindy March, Fane Lozman, Terrence.
Good evening. I'm Cindy March. I find it very ironic y'all have all of this money to spend for this, that. I hope you all have some money to pay Lady March. I don't care how long it's been. COVID-19 been there. I hope everybody was safe for COVID-19. I'm like Fane Lozman. I'm not his cheerleader, but right is right and wrong is wrong. I hope when you all go to court, y'all don't say y'all don't have no money, because y'all spending money, ain't asking no questions, and I hope it come back to bite you. It's going to come back to bite you. Evans have his hands in everything. He got this position. He got this temporary position. Greed going to catch up. And I hope I live to see it. And I'm going to tell you, I told you so. I see Gagnon no longer here after he don't mess up the city, mess up a great employee that you had as a building official. The first black building official here. It's personal with me. And it's going to be personal to the day I leave this earth. Because y'all fired her wrongly. She went to jail. And then y'all spending all this money and y'all don't got paid for pandemic pay. Who paying for this increase in this water bill? This is what I want to know. What it's for? Where it's coming from? And y'all instead of giving money out to everybody come and do a 3-minute presentation. Stuff y'all don't even know nothing about. Are you serious? Is this what the city of Riviera Beach is all about? You all got to do better. When you know better, you do better. You got enough money to do a mental illness building or a homeless building for the homeless people. I'm one of them. I'm one of the mental illness. I don't been mental ill before. But look where God brought me from. You know why? Because I know how to treat people. I have a heart. And it's not about money up under the table or being yes man. I don't know what y'all don't sip, suck, snuff, or whatever. But what all y'all agreeing on, it's not good at all. Lanier, she wants to put something on the floor, and then next thing you know, y'all got an unanimous vote besides one person. Where we do that at? In the city of Riviera Beach? I need to go ahead and present my Cindy seafood and see how much money I can get from the city. That's one thing we'll sell. But y'all get these people in here that not even an applicant. He doesn't even stand up for himself. No job opportunity for the minority. Y'all, we got to do better. We got to do better. And Botel, we need a new chairperson. We need a new councilperson. Because Botel is so rude. And if anybody can be rude, I can be rude. But I know when to be humble, too. When I want something and people treat me right, I'm going to know the side of humble. She's just too rude. People that don't look like us don't need to tell us how to run our city. Period. I'm not racist, but I'm calling a spade a spade.
Fane Lozman, Terrence. Bessie Brown.
Fane Lozman, 5101 North Ocean Drive. Let's get to the specifics of what a few $1,000s of investigative work gets you. Chadwick McCoy, born December 1st, 1983. He did not live at his mom's house at 1465 West 30th Street in Riviera Beach, yet that's the address he put down on all his paperwork when he ran for office, and he still uses that address. We have extensive photographic evidence of his vehicle and license plate at 1081 Benoit Farms Road in West Palm Beach and 270 72nd Avenue in Hollywood, Florida. McCoy, we're not a duly elected official. I've hired an attorney to try to pursue a court battle to get you out of office. If you're going to sue the city over the water bill, you don't have standing to do that. But apparently what you did think you had standing was to take away the development rights of me and my partners who put a few $1 million into property in Singer Island where we do pay property taxes. And that little stunt you played last week or the prior city council meeting, that's void ab initio. Okay, the property owners were not given proper notice, and it failed on the first reading. So you guys, you want to play a little game and try to take away property rights from people that live in the city? We'll play the same little game and get you removed from office. According to the charter, by the way, Ms. Lanier is absent from this meeting. There is no accommodation for anybody to appear telephonically. If she misses another meeting, she can be removed from office per the charter. Ms. Botel, this Friday at noon, there's a closed executive session at the Florida Commission of Ethics. I was invited to attend, but I could not participate, but I could witness it. There's a probable cause affidavit based on Ms. Botel using city equipment, copy machines, to prepare attack flyers saying that Lady March Goldwire, the city's building official, should be fired. She's also using her city hall office for a private business. You know, Ms. Lanier, I'm really disappointed when I heard that you made a motion to appoint Mr. Evans to be the CRA director. Mr. Evans has a full-time job as a city manager. There were 60 qualified applicants that wanted to be the CRA directors. Those 60 people out of work. If you're going to use public dollars for a position, you hire a new person to fill that job. You know, why are we giving a man to wear 2 full-time jobs? That makes no sense. I think Ms. Lanier may be blackmailed by Mr. Evans because, and you're going to say, why is she being blackmailed? I'll tell you why. Ms. Lanier was fired. I had a long talk with Lynn Hubbard. She was fired for failing a drug test. Okay, Ms. Hubbard tried to get her to stay. Mr. Evans fired. I pulled her personnel file, Mr. Evans. There's no exit statement why she was fired. Where'd she go? I have a problem with you wearing 2 jobs. We need to get somebody to replace you as the CRA director, and it's shameful that we're depriving somebody of a full-time job, and we're going to get to the bottom of what's going on here.
Terrence, Bessie Brown, Brenda Brown. Madam Chair, members of the board, the name Terrence just has the first name, no last name.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, staff, residents, and employees of the City of Riviera Beach. It is wonderful to be here tonight. And I just want to say to all the employees that have been doing such a wonderful job during the pandemic with their patience and their sacrifices. Terrence Davis, father of Riviera Beach, student from Riviera Beach, and ex-city official of Riviera Beach. And I truly understand the job that you do. But the 30% that we considered back in 2012, 13, 14, and 15, we had to understand that we had to be patient before we said yes. We had to be patient for our employees and our residents. We understood that economic development on projects coming up had to come before. But we want our residents to weigh that burden by themselves. We had projects that's been held up for 3 years. They have a life cycle cost associated with it. If they're late, it's going to cost us more money. Do not let the residents carry this burden alone. Yes, we need infrastructure. I saw an article the other day where Mr. McCoy sued the city, and he said he just wanted to talk to staff. He didn't want to have to go to a courtroom. But in that article, I saw nowhere where the utility director had any comments about the life cycle of our current water infrastructure. And I'm concerned because this is our third utility director. All right? My daughter's sitting here with me today, and I told this council and staff that while we had our fights politically, this is a life decision for me. And I come to show support if you need help with the historical view of the decisions that we were trying to make. Support economic development. We got a marina development that we playing around with that if our employees and if our mothers and our daughters and our fathers can work, they can pay these high water bills. But when you hold up a $300 million development associated with the marina and then tax the people 30%, so you can't work, but you can pay this bill. That's not fair. And I told these people, I love you guys unconditionally. And I say, my people, 33404. Those that pay taxes, those that work here, those that live here. I don't care what color you are, but it's time that we serve those people. If you got to make a tough decision on one side, make a tough decision, put our people to work. And we want to support you guys on that. So please be aggressive with putting our people to work. And not just low-paying jobs, but big-paying jobs. Have a wonderful night.
Betsy Brown, Brenda Brown, Ernestine Gordon.
Good evening, Bessie Brown. I hope that you can hear me clearly. I'm here about the CRA director, Lanier, making a motion to hire Jonathan Evans as a permanent CRA director after all of the information had been decided to contact the applicants to be interviewed. Now, we have to do better than this. And also, we have a $4 million project on Sing Island to repair some bridges, but with 7.1% minority participation. We need to do the disparity study here, and we need to get on it right away. And Monroe Heights streets are still they're still a mess. Now you're gonna put out these bids for all this stuff. You need to put out a bid and take care of Monroe Heights streets. And Terrence Bailey said that I requested that he do my street. I did not ask. I haven't talked to that boy in over a year and a half. And so and that was during the time that the budget, you all were doing a budget or capital outlay on streets and stuff. And I told him that my street wasn't included. And that's the last time I talked to him about that. And I just want to clear up stuff. Is Shirley Lanier supposed to be visual? Are we supposed to see her? I like an answer on that, because she wasn't visual at the last CRA meeting, and then she showed up there. Well, I saw it on the TV, and then she showed up, and then she never showed up again. Now, if that's not virtual, if she's supposed to be virtual, I think we are supposed to see her. And what happened to items 6 and 10? I'd like to know because I wasn't here at the beginning before you started. I'd like to know what happened to items 6 and 10. And it's my understanding that the new utility district director has resigned. Why can't we keep people here in certain positions? And they never really talk much, because Mr. Jonathan Evans, he's always presenting stuff in the utility district, and I don't think he's authorized to do that. But basically, and that backup book, We need to have that here. I don't care, everybody want to make a reason as to why we shouldn't have something. We need to have those books in here so that we can look at the backup.
Brenda Brown, Ernest D. Gordon, Marvelous Washington.
Good evening, all. I would like to comment on the utility rate that's coming forth, that's going up again. I recall, if my memory serves me correctly, I think this was about maybe 10 to 12 years ago, that the city of Riviera Beach had raised the residents of Riviera Beach had raised their utility rate, and there was nothing sent out to the residents. And the residents back during that time had to incur the cost because it has something to do with the pipes. Well, here we go again, we're raising the rates and we have received nothing. Any utility company, if they're going to raise any rates, they always inform the residents of that particular city that they're going to do that 2 or 3 months prior to the time that they're going to do it. So I think that if you're going to do something like that, you need to let the residents know. First, we had to incur the cost. Now, again, we're going to have to incur the cost again. And your motto says, a city that honor and serve. Let's see you do that.
Ernestine Gordon, Marvelous Washington, Mary Bram. Ernestine Gordon, Marvelous Washington. Following Ms. Washington will be Mary Brown.
Good evening, councilpersons, mayor, city attorney, city manager. Mr. Evans, I really feel for you because as a professional, we tend to take on more than what we can handle. And unfortunately, that is a challenge that we always take for. With your unique skill set, you've been put in a position in which we think that you can take on more than what you were originally assigned here to do. I'm here to discuss not the appointment of the CRA director being appointed permanently, Mr. Evans. I'm here to discuss how timely that motion was made and the excuse for that motion being made. Since you guys have taken office with this new administration, being fiscally responsible has never been your motto, okay? 2 months into your taking office, there was discussion of hiring an outside agency to investigate the insurance fraud that the OIG had already investigated, which was going to cost us additional monies. We never considered any cost-saving motions then. 2 months after that, we were negotiating Mr. Evans' contract. There was no discussion on saving the city money then. After that, maybe 2 or 3 months later, there were job creations of upper-level positions with high salaries without any requirements for interviewing or any competitive interview process. They were just appointed with high salaries and lack of experience and education. There was no cost-saving motions then. Pandemic pay was decided by our city manager. There was no talk about saving city monies then. Councilpersons, we have to do better. We cannot depend on Mr. Evans to run all departments in our city. If anything was to happen to Mr. Evans during this time, and you guys know how unpredictable this pandemic is, our city would be put back in the same position it was before, with lack of people in these positions. He should not be holding 2 full-time job positions in the city of Riviera Beach when we had candidates, 2 that were local candidates, willing to interview and receive emails for a final interview. That email never was rescinded. And what bothers me is that we talk about providing opportunities for our residents to come back and work for the city, but when it's time to actually do it, we never follow through on it. In closing, you guys know that that 5% raise is actually to cover that pandemic pay that was implemented in March. Everyone knows anytime a city closed down that employees are entitled to emergency pay or pandemic pay. That decision should have never happened. But it occurred. And now our residents are suffering because we have to pay that back due to the unauthorized increase in water bill. To be light of the subject, I noticed that the City of Riviera Beach Youth Empowerment Center program was hiring a part-time program aide. I'm just wondering if Councilperson Lanier would like to appoint Mr. Evans into that position too.
Mary Graham.
Good evening, Mary Brown. I hope everybody can see that I have voting here. A shout out to Ms. Shirley Lanier. I wish her a speedy recovery. No, we do not have Clark Kent. We have, those are fictional characters. But we do have skill set and that professionalism. We do have, if we don't have Clark Kent, we have Batman. And who comes with Batman? We have Robin. Thank goodness for Miss McBride, our deputy city manager, as well as our assistant city manager. This city is in good hands because Miss McBride comes well-rounded, well-rounded. So I have no problem here. Ask Bill Wilkins. This does happen for a city manager to be appointed the CRA director. Kurt, don't let me throw out no mud here. We all know Kurt. See, Miss Brown and others, Miss Gordon and the other ladies that was here, we have been working these communities. So I'm well aware of the scheme and the plans, games that some of you are playing up there. I don't come to pacify you. I never did. The last time I was in this chambers here, and this is this agenda for March of 2020. And here we are here with the same mess. And if you talk about this pandemic here, look and see, you got 221,000 deaths that are in our United States, plus and counting here. So I don't need no agenda. I need it for it to be embedded so that we would not have to be asking what is this or what is that. If you can't get to the books, we have to do a little stepping out of that box there to curtail in here. Bullock made mention about his grant there, but it wasn't mentioned about the Lord's place. See, these are things that we can build on here to keep the residents a little bit at bay here. They know they can't get to the books, but we have to do our part. When I water, see residents, when we were out in the community last week before last, and yes, Miss Graham dressed like this now. It is October Breast Cancer, so Miss Graham is pink and white to salute that as well. We heard it. But you all know this increase was set up in this city here. Previous council for a 10 or 12 year span here. And here we are here. Look at our infrastructure here. It's horrible. It's deplorable.
Thank you, Ms.
So what you want? Inflation is inflation, and everybody getting it. The grocery stores,
Thank you.
our light bill, our gas bill. It is no different than what we are suffering here.
Thank
Do
you,
you
Ms.
want to
Graham.
be like Flint City? That's why you're sick in this city right today with cancer, gastrointestinal,
Thank you, Ms.
bowel
Graham.
syndrome, because of your water. And Solartron did it. Thank God for Councilman Clay Shaw. Michael Brown went to Washington, D.C. Miss Brown was all out in the acreage when that cancer claimed.
Ms. Graham, Ms.
I
Graham.
got those papers and I
Ms.
shared
Graham.
them with the previous manager.
Thank you. Your time. Thank you.
Residents, you are
Thank you.
educated because we gave you that information.
Thank
They
you,
can
Ms.
say
Brown.
whatever they want to say. We still move on.
Ms. Brown.
In
Ms.
times
Madam
like
Chair?
this.
Are you going to be nice?
No, I
just
told her.
Come on.
No,
I don't have to like or dislike what somebody says, but be
she-
uniform, Madam Chair.
She's sitting down.
I mean, you had no problem interrupting
No, I
previous
know.
speakers. And I mean, Madam Chair, I'm very serious.
I know.
Madam Chair, members of the board, that concludes public comments at this time.
Matter of fact, pick up the gavel. That was not even like, what are you doing?
Item number,
Madam Chair, we are now on item number 12. Resolution number 99-20, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, authorizing the execution of the professional auditing services agreement between the City of Riviera Beach and HCT Certified Public Accountants and Consultants, LLC, for auditing services obtained through request for proposal number 992-20-2, and authorizing the City Finance Director to make subsequent payments after work authorization has been issued and provide an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have public comments on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
So move.
Second. Madam Chair, just a couple introductory remarks before I turn the presentation over to Deputy City Manager, Ms. Liz McBride. It is imperative that we move forward with getting our auditor on board as quickly as possible. We have received notification from the state to both the CRA and the utility district with regards to the completion of the fiscal year 2019 audit. We have seen the remittance of funds to the city stop until the audits are complete. So there is an adverse fiscal impact associated with the audit not moving forward. So staff is prepared to bring forward an item today for you to consider that will allow for us to move forward with our audit and follow best auditing standards. And at this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Deputy City Manager, Ms. Liz McBride.
Madam Chair, Mayor, and members of the council, the last time this matter was before you was July 1st, when you selected HCT to be your auditor, external auditor. During the interim, an appeal was filed by another bidder, proposer, I guess, and it stayed the proceedings for a length of time. The appeal proceedings for that have now passed. In your package, you have before you an agreement that was dated July 1st, the date you entertained that. It is not a completely executed agreement, which is good, because due to the circumstances surrounding the status of our audits required by the state, we did have to have some further discussions with Mr. Harvey, the principal of HCT, and we reached some decisions which were outlined in your cover memo of the items that we would be discussing. One, a time period for the completion of the 2019 audits for the city, the CRA, and the utilities special district. And we had and agreed to having those completed on or before February 28th, 2021. We also discussed that there would be a timely completion of the 2020 audit so that we have that completed before June 30th of 2020. Your audits for the city as well as the CRA and the utility districts are due to the state by June 30th of every year. So we were just wanted to make sure that we would all be on board to proceed as in sync together as to the time period. In addition, we looked at based upon some of the complaints, we looked at the best practices for auditing services that were recommended by the Government Finance Officers Association. And one of them, the main one we looked at related to when you use an auditor for a long time. And they realized that often many small organizations might encounter that. And they recommended that one way you address that is by having the auditor bring in new faces, even though it's the same auditor. I had that discussion with Mr. Harvey. So we are all in accord with those things. They have been incorporated into the new agreement, which bears a date of today, October 21st. So we will be replacing that agreement. And those provisions are incorporated into Exhibit A of the agreement. And I would tell you, that was the main change. and it's put in Exhibit A. Mr. Harvey has the agreement over with him. We finalized this on Monday afternoon. The only other area where there was a change was in Article 1, Services. And what we did was incorporate the RFP itself, as well as Mr. Harvey's response to the RFP. Okay? So those are the only changes to the agreement that you have before you. And Mr. Harvey, would you like to make any comments? Okay.
Any questions or comments from council? Yes? No?
And basically, Madam Chair, we would just ask that the agreement as amended would be approved tonight by the council. And Mr. Harvey has it. He was just looking at it to make sure that what had been represented was there in that document, and he will be signing it before he leaves. Okay.
Thane Lozman, Amon Israel, Mary Bram.
Thane Lozman, 5101 North Ocean Drive, Singer Island. Of the 10 properties over there. A contract that's going to expend money. Mr. McCoy, you should live in the city. You should have been a city resident before you vote to spend money that you're not legally allowed to vote on. It's important to point out to the police chief. Maybe he can investigate it independently. Looks like a leadership failure there, city manager. You should be more worried about how much money are we not getting from the state because we haven't turned in our audit on time. You know, one of the jobs of the city manager is leadership. It's to make sure the finance director meets its qualifications. But it's hard to understand what this lady said, but if there was some big protest by a competitor, you should have had this figured out 6 months before the deadline. The deadline's June, here it is October. You know, that's not a very good job performance. You know, I remember the Auditor General of Florida did 2 special audits of the city in 2005 and 2007. They found all kinds of irregularities. You know, you can pull those up online. Have you bothered to read those? Why don't you ask the Auditor General, or ask him, to come back and do another audit? You know, where's all this money going? Is this going to be covered in this audit? I mean, if that's what makes no sense. The properties that I was developing on Singer Island would have added $6 million to the tax rolls. $6 million. $6 million that could have gone to the west side. $6 million that could pay this auditor's bill. But no, we don't want $6 million. Lawson, you're supposed to be a pro-business person. $6 million would have been generated from 71-acre lots that would have sold for $6 million each. $420 million. But you wanted to go on with Botel. I'll tell you what, let's play a game. $50,000 for anybody who can give me any information that will remove you from office for corruption. Why don't we play that game, Mr. Lawson? I'd make or lose $100 grand a day in the stock market. I don't care about $50,000.
Amon Israel, Mary Bram.
Good evening. Amon Israel, Riviera Beach, Florida. A little concerned about the Davis and Associates being skipped over when they were next to be negotiated with, and also being denied an audience with our city council to protest an injustice. The state of Florida changed some rules and regulations pertaining to the Audit Selection Committee. They are now the city council selected 4 people to be on the audit committee, with 1 city council people being the chair of that committee. Some more of those rules and regulations that the city council said they wanted to be in compliance with was that the auditor selection committee was to make the rules for the evaluation. After this process took place, the governing body, the city council, was to negotiate with the number one ranked team. If there was no agreement made with the number one team, according to this statute, they was to go to the number two team. They skipped the number two team, violating that statute. If there was no agreement made with the number two team, then they was to go to the number three team. If you're going to hold S. Davis and Associates to 7 days to reply with their protest, my question would be, did you do a return receipt by mail? Was there some way to determine when the email was opened? Your email to them said 7 days upon receipt of your notification. Some people take advantage of having Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off, Monday being a holiday. If you consider these 3 days, they would have, their protest would have been in within the 7 days. Why would you count Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and a holiday when most people are not working? What happened to when you give someone days to comply? What happened to business days as opposed to weekends and holidays? I ask you to give them an audience to protest. Thank you.
Mary Bram, S. Davis and Associates.
Excuse me, I'm not taking no chances. I have to protect myself. Okay. We do have some reservations here. Even though, as a board, you make that decision, but it's how you make that decision. It showed some unprofessionalism when this was handed down. You're the governing board. But what trickles down is how you did it. You skipped over the one that the criteria that you had put. Plus, you all selected an individual to represent on that board there. What volumes does that speak for your leadership? Was it something that you did not like? Obviously, it was. Whatever auditor that we have HCT, I hope that they do a much better job. We as a community hope that they do a much better job, because this process within the community has some flaws in it. So whoever received this contract, we hope that they do a better job. Whether it is the one that is standing now, or whether the one that was overlooked with the highest score. And we know the obstacles that we have had within this city here. We're trying to change that perception of us. We want professionalism, but we also want directive thinking power that can move us in this atmosphere, because I call COVID the atmosphere now. We still have to navigate, but it's how we navigate. And we navigate with transparency. You might as well forget about asking the residents to come in and have input. But that would not stop us, because just like you all conferences too, we also do the same thing too. It was made mention about Mr. Hobbit with Article 1. I would like to know what that Article 1 that was included in there. Getting back to the in-depth of the agenda item. $389, and if I'm incorrect, because I always like to be corrected, that we would pay them for 4 years with an extension of 5 years. So I would also like that articulated so the general public will know. It is things within these agenda items that can be written a little bit better, with a little bit more clarity. That's what we say, clarity, so that it would be no guessing game.
Thank you, Ms. Brand. Thank you.
Answer my question.
S. Davis and Associates.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and honorable city council members. My name is Tanya Davis. I'm a partner with S. Davis and Associates, 900 Osceola Drive, West Palm Beach, Florida. Basically, our bid protest should be heard and should be approved. We properly and timely filed a protest with the procurement director as stipulated in the city's procurement code. Upon denial, we made a request to meet with the city manager in accordance with the city's procurement code. We met on July 21st. Approximately 45 days after the meeting, our attorney was sent a letter on September 2nd stating S. Davis and Associates had within 7 days of receipt of the letter to file a protest to the city council. On September 10th, our attorney made the request for the council to consider our protest in accordance with city procurement code. We followed that code to the letter, making our requests in the order stipulated in the code. The city deemed our request late. In certain paragraphs of your procurement code, you specify calendar days or working days for action items. The September 2nd from the city made no such specification as to calendar or working days. There is no mention in the procurement code of the number of days for making a request to the city council. We made our request within 7 business days. The city, in their calculation, used calendar days, which, as was stated, included not only the weekend, but also a national holiday, and stated that we were late. September 2nd is the date the letter was sent and emailed, not as I understand it, the date it was opened, read, and signifying receipt. We were aggrieved in 2 back-to-back RFP processes, the first in 2019, when after being ranked number 1 to the incumbent, the council canceled the RFP based on a Florida statute that was not even in effect until after proposals were submitted. Oral presentations took place. The selection committee reviewed and ranked the RFP respondents, and we had signed a contract. We responded to the 2020 RFP in good faith, and we were aggrieved again. The auditor selection committee was chosen. They followed the process in the statute. They ranked. The ranking was stipulated, the manner of ranking was stipulated in the RFP. They did exactly what the statute allowed them to do and said it and did it exactly as what was stipulated in the RFP. During negotiations, the procurement manager on behalf of this committee started with one portion of the Florida state statute and started negotiating with the number ranked firm. The council came to the council meeting and completely denied that they had started down the path, or ignored that they had started down the path of what was stipulated in the statute, and then jumped to a completely different section to start negotiating with the number 3 firm, completely skipping over S. Davis and Associates, who was ranked number 2. We request that our protest be heard and approved.
Thank you. Time is up.
Madam Chair, members of the board, that completes public comments on this item.
Any other comments?
Madam Chair?
Oh, go ahead, Councilwoman Lanier.
Yeah, I wanted to say about this process in terms of the council coming and having some conversations about this whole audit process. Of course, as you know, I disagreed with the selection that was made in regards to the city's internal auditor. I thought that the committee that made these recommendations, which were pushed aside, which were disregarded, I wanted to make it clear that the audit committee did everything that they were supposed to do according to law. And the issues with the submission of a protest from this agency is something that the attorney and I spoke about. I still disagree with that as well. As I said before, I disagree with the fact that the city is continuing to go with an audit committee, an auditor that was ranked number 3 out of 3 and was not the least amount of money to be spent by the city for our audits.
Councilwoman Lanier, are you done? You're finished. I don't want to cut you off.
Yes, I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Mill Anderson?
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier?
No.
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson?
Yes.
Chair Botel?
No.
That motion is approved with Councilpersons Botel and Lanier dissenting. Item number 13, resolution number 94-20, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving the Riviera Beach Police Department Stop the Violence March to be held on Saturday, November 7th, 2020, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., providing an effective date and for other purposes. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have public comments on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
So moved.
Second.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, community at large. I'm Chief Nate Osgood, and I can tell you how we got here and why we're wishing to go forward with the Stop the Violence March on November 7th. One of my main priorities when I got here was to really decrease the violence that we see in our communities. It can be done. I know it can be done. Part of the problem is, and we got many problems, the community's got to come forward, one, and give us what they know and talk to us. Now, after the fact, I get a lot of parents, family members of victims who are killed out there due to the violence. They come to my office, in my office. I speak to them every day. They call me on the phone. They come to my office. They're angry. They're hurt. They're sad that their loved ones, killers, are still out there in the communities. And during our investigation, we learned that we know who the killers are. A lot of them, we know. We have put the information together in these cases. We have tied the ends together, presented it to the state attorney's office. The state attorney's office need a little bit more, they say. They need community members, witnesses, to step up. We're not getting witnesses. Our violence in our community is unacceptable at any level. It should be unacceptable by all. Community members asking to get together with the police and do a march, to walk through the community, to put an end to the violence, to come together and stop the violence, the shooting, attacks in our community. We have a beautiful community. We have a lot of law-abiding citizens who do not want the violence in their communities. So to give you an idea what we come up with in this march, we made up a few signs. Stop the violence. These signs, when we're marching down the streets in the city of Riviera Beach, from street to street, and we're going to start over by Cunningham Park, down by Goodmark Park, over to Monroe Heights Park. Another thing that's happening, people see the crime and they're not saying anything. We just have to come back and say, if you see something, say something. We have too many people in our community who know who the killers are. We're saying enough. They're saying enough. I had 2 mothers come to my office today. For 2 hours, I spoke to the mothers, each. And they're talking to me, this needs to stop. They're begging us. We got to come together as a community, residents, And we got to start talking to the police. This is not an isolated incident or incidents in the city of Riviera Beach. Speaking to my counterparts around the county, Boynton Beach, West Palm, Delray Beach, even Boca, Sheriff's Office too, they're all experiencing violent crimes, gun violence, people shooting, come down the street, broad daylight, and they shoot down the street just like it's a Bonnie and Clyde movie, and they can care less. They're more brazen than ever before, and they're getting bolder and bolder. But when does it stop? The community is saying they've had enough, and I agree. We all have had enough. Our shot spotter goes off every single night, and we pick up shell casings every single day and night. This is for information purposes only. We would like to, again, do this on November 7th, starting at 8 a.m. Congregate right over there, Cunningham Park, in the streets. We talk about this, and we're going to have some of the family members. They want to speak. One of the gentlemen, he came to me and said, I need to talk about this. He's paralyzed. He was shot in the back a few years ago. And he said, we're going to bury more of our black men and boys if we don't stop this. These are people who have been on both sides of the fence, by the way. These are not all people who just been choir boys. These are guys who are out there gang banging themselves, and they want to come and talk to tell the community, stop the violence, and come out and say something. I'll take any question you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you say we had public?
Information purpose only.
Thane Lozman, Mary Bram.
Thane Lozman, 5101 North Ocean Drive, and 10 other properties. Chief Osgood, I see you put a lot of time into that presentation. Thank you kindly. I think it's a lack of respect to the police in this community that Ms. Botel is too busy texting on her phone when he started his comments versus listening to the police chief. That is rude and just another reason why you should not be chairperson. I was reading the item, and it says, and for other purposes. I want to share a quick story with you, police chief, that happened last week. A black gentleman by the name of Fair Wayne Bryant. He was incarcerated in the Louisiana Penitentiary at Angola. I read Mr. Bryant's story. He was sentenced under the habitual offenders laws for attempting to steal a pair of hedge clippers. And you can look it up, Fair Wayne Bryant, do Google search, Washington Post, CNN. Everybody wrote about he was cut loose last Thursday after serving 22 years in prison. When I read about the story over the summer, I reached out to my Supreme Court legal team, and we started the process to file a petition for writ of certiorari with the U.S. Supreme Court. Fair had filed a petition with the Louisiana Supreme Court, and he lost 5-1. The dissent from Chief Justice, a black woman, Johnson, talked about the pig laws and how black men to this day are being sentenced for minor crimes to very harsh sentences. Anyway, we had some really prominent legal counsel for Fair, including a woman who has argued more cases before the U.S. Supreme Court than any woman in the history of the court. And we had amicus briefs from FAM, the Families Against Mandatory Minimums. We put a lot of effort, there was a lot of correspondence, and the state of Louisiana decided it was better to cut Fair loose, which they did on Thursday, and leave their pig laws on the books. So why am I mentioning that to you? Besides, it says for other purposes of the march. I think that's all well and good, your march, but you need to get to these youngsters when they're younger. There needs to be some kind of concerted effort to get to these young children. Maybe you do it already, but you need to get to them when they're 5, 6, 7 years old. We can't afford to have these black men incarcerated for petty crimes under the habitual offenders laws for life, as in Louisiana, or 25 years in Florida. We need to do something about it and stop the violence. Okay, but why don't we try to stop the process for these young children when they're in school? There has to be something better than what happened to Fair. There's another over 1,000 men still in Louisiana under his circumstance, and we're trying to do something for them, but we need to do something younger. And I guess that's a good start, but I want something more concerted that hits up every 5 and 6, 7-year-old kid about what can happen to Fair, Bryant, and other men like that.
Mary Bram.
He's already said my name, so I'm gonna cut through the chase. Marching is good and fine, but you must have a comprehensive plan to combat this. We've been there, we've done that, year after year, month after month. We don't want it to be a feel-good thing. And this is nothing against the march, because I've heard this out in the communities. Remember those that have seen me, and this is how I've been, because I wanted to engage. They don't want a feel-good moment. They are tired of grandparents and mothers and children. They are tired of ducking bullets within their homes, as well as on their streets there. We must have a comprehensive plan here. Don't get it bent. Those that know me, I come from a lineage of law, police, sheriff, secret agents, and all of that. Those are in my family here. So I would never defund the police department, never, because we cannot be lawless. Because if we be lawless, this is what we are encountering now. The residents have also said you're investing that money into those cars there instead of putting those cameras in the hot spots there. I know you're going to do the things that you should do, but it is some things that you must do if you really want to combat the problem. You know that it's gangs in this city here. We all know that. So let's cut through this chase here. The question is, what comprehensive plan are you going to do here to make the elderly that are in these wheelchairs? Because I have talked to some. I have given them literatures on Saturday as well as Sunday. That's the issue. That is the issue. Because once when you march, and don't get me wrong now, it's not a bad thing. Everybody's going to go into their own little secret places here. And we are still left as a city here that says that we are the best place to live, work, and play. We must live up to that motto, even in this atmosphere. But it starts within the peoples that governs us. Our government has abused us. Yes, they have. But we as peoples, we will still stand firm. So I'm here because I get calls and stuff for exactly what I'm saying here today. We are tired. We're overtired. We're stressed with COVID. We're stressed with the violence within our neighborhoods. And it's not right. I totally agree. If you cannot stand the heat, you
Thank you, Ms.
get
Bram.
out the fire.
Thank you.
And that's for in and everybody. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, that completes public comments on this item.
Thank you. Any comments from council? I have a question for Chief, myself, actually. Ms. Bram raised the topic of cameras, and I wondered if that was part of the plan you might have to put cameras in the hot spots around the city. I mean, I know we've had difficulty in the past having residents actually tell us when they see something. They're reluctant to say something. But if we see it ourselves on cameras, would it not be easier for us to take action?
Madam Chair, if I may pause the chief as it relates to answering that, because that is a police tactic and we don't want to convey what we're doing and how we're doing, but we are looking to address the matter holistically. And so no option or alternative is off the table, but okay. We are monitoring those areas. There is a particular reason why the march is scheduled in certain areas of the community. And one of the things that we're also talking about is how do we incorporate code compliance into these activities. There's some other municipalities that have implemented programs, crime-free, multifamily programs whereby it's broken into phases. So phase 1 would be an 8-hour seminar for all renters or property owners that have rental property in our community. There will be another step where we look at actually security features, screening tenants, and then phase 3, working with law enforcement. So we're looking at this holistically. This is merely the first step in subsequent steps that we are going to look to address some of the problematic activities that we have in our community. And you all will be seeing a policy recommendation that will come forward that will look at code enforcement, that will also look at a crime-free housing program, and then also really a concerted effort to go out there and clean up the neighborhoods by putting city personnel out there similar to that of the ambassador program. So we're looking at this multifaceted.
So there's a plan.
So there is a plan.
That's always good to know. And I would love to hear that plan. I appreciate the fact that you don't want to make it public, although I would like every criminal in the city to know that they're being watched. So, I don't mind telling people, hey, there's going to be a camera out there, but I would like to meet with Chief, and maybe some of my colleagues would as well, to hear what that plan is one-on-one so that we can be assured that there's something in place.
And the biggest thing that the chief communicated is that we have situations where there is shots fired in our community. And one, we have an ordinance on the book that prohibits discharge of a firearm in the municipal boundaries. But the other side of it is we get more calls for loud music than we do for shots being fired in residential areas. And so we really need the community support to help us address some of these issues, because ultimately law enforcement needs the information to give a compelling case to the state attorney's office to help us move forward with prosecuting, because it's the same individuals that are in our community go into West Palm and Lake Park, and our officers know who they are. But until information is provided to law enforcement, there's nothing that we can do. And the chief has had the same situation that I've had, is grieving, weeping mothers and grandmothers in our offices talking about something has to change, and we know who did it, but folks are not willing to come forward. And these families are looking for closure, and they're looking for a sign of hope, and this march provides at least one step in the right direction to bring law enforcement and the community involved. And the chief has done a good job with regards to the bike patrols and getting officers out there. So we're going to be out there and we're going to be involved. One of the things that we're excited about is once we're able to move forward with the new location for YEP, we're going to repurpose the YEP facility, if the council approves us, having a police substation in the neighborhoods. So we're excited about the opportunity, and that may be a model that we look to deploy citywide. So we're involved and we're active to help curb the criminal activities in our community.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. And let me say, Chief, I would never disrespect you by texting while you were speaking. I tend to make notes on my phone so that I can ask questions later. So please know that.
Yes, Chair. I'm aware. We were making eye contact the entire while. I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, you're recognized, Councilwoman Lanier.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that although I'm definitely in support of the march, I know that, and Mr. Evans said something about a plan of action, and I'm under the agreement with one of the residents. Marching is fine, but we need to have a comprehensive prevention plan, meaning that we have to have things in place to prevent crime before it happens. And not only that, but we also have to make sure that there is economic job opportunity for people in this city. What happens, crime happens because people don't have any money. People don't have any jobs. So what you have is a city that is filled with shootings and people who have nothing to do. So as I said before, I am in support of the march and of the police department, but I want to see our police department place a lot of effort in crime prevention and also in community investments.
Madam Chair?
To make sure that
So can we make Councilwoman Lanier the Grand Marshal? So since she's in support, we can ensure that she'll be there as the Grand Marshal.
Stop.
I make that motion.
Behave yourself. Mr.
Let
McCoy.
Let me finish my take on this. But I really wanted to make sure that programs like Hope Dealers, programs like the YEP program, those are programs that we need in our community to prevent crime. And I understand that given the city of Riviera Beach and, people know us to be a city that has crime, that there are more things that are going to happen besides us marching. And I certainly want to make sure that I'm in support of this, but I'm also in support of community investments and also preventing crime in our city before it happens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilperson Lanier?
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson?
Yes.
Chair Botel?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Was that the vote on
That was
Councilwoman Lanier being the Grand
Yes,
Marshal?
Councilwoman.
That was the vote on
Is
the
the
approval of the
field
resolution.
That
Councilperson McCoy.
that was not about the Grand Marshal.
The Grand Marshal, that was a vote.
I thought that's what I voted on.
Item number 14, public art request.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this item before you is to seek authorization to proceed forward with a public art mural on the water tank at the corner of Blue Heron and Barack Obama. This came before the board for a discussion back in September. The mayor and I have had subsequent conversations about moving forward with this project. We wanted to ensure that this project is consistent with the ideologies and the journeys that folks have made throughout this nation to stand against oppression, to fight for civil rights and civil justice, and that have made a resounding impact on communities like ours. And so we've put a list of names, and there are some other names certainly that most likely will make the list of individuals to be recognized, and it is something that we can certainly build upon. One of the things that the mayor envisioned is that it would be a picture of that particular individual with an inspiring quote or saying or something that when someone passes that mural, that they feel that that particular message on that particular day is speaking to them. The individuals that we've listed here are just names that we have talked about, but others certainly will be recognized. Martin Luther King Jr., Muhammad Ali, Jackie Robinson, Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, Mary McLeod Bethune, the Tuskegee Airmen, Frederick Douglass, Thurgood Marshall, Chadwick Boseman, and multiple names to eventually be added. This is consistent with our city goal as far as community engagement and empowerment, and staff is requesting that we can move forward, and we anticipate the cost not to exceed $25,000 and will follow the appropriate procurement code requirements for that particular solicitation. At this particular moment, I'm going to turn the presentation over to the mayor as it's his project and his initiative. I was just speaking from the staff standpoint as we're here to facilitate. Mr. Mayor?
Madam Chair and members of the board, we do not have any public comments on this item. The acceptance of public comments on this item is now closed. You may proceed, Mayor.
Thank you, Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Evans. And you laid it out. I think we talked about this a month ago. I think this kicks off, our art project in the city. And I just, I'm asking for you guys to support us. Thank you.
Madam Chair. So, Mr. Evans, you mentioned the procurement process. So what happens after we leave here? What are the next steps? I mean, is there a conceptual design or what?
There will be a conceptual design that we will share with the board. I will get with Ms. Pimsel because I think 3 solicitations or 3 quotes are required for any expenditure over the $5,000 threshold. So after we would look at the quotes and the preliminary designs that are provided, then we would select the one that we think best reflects the image that we're trying to accomplish on the water tank.
So what you're saying is that the artists are going to render what their proposal is?
We're gonna give them the same type of conceptual elements that were articulated in this memorandum as well as the previous memorandum, and they will all have a conversation with the mayor as far as what we're trying to capture, and then provide a sketch or mock-up with regards to the mural.
Okay, and have we laid out parameters? Is it going to completely do the whole entire tank? Like, what exactly is that? Where do we start, I guess?
For cost sakes, I don't believe that it will be able to cover the entire tank. It will be portioned, so there may be, the first iteration may be 5 names with their quotes on probably the most visible section of the tank, and then subsequent sides subsequent persons and sayings could be added. The way in which it's going to be built out, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mayor, is that it's a living piece that it will, over the time, have more images of those that have played a significant role in human rights and civil rights and equality.
Any other questions? Do we need to?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Mr. Lawson.
Thank you, Mr. Evans, and Mr. Mayor. I absolutely love this idea. I'm in complete support of it. The tank, are we going to paint the entire tank, cover the entire tank, and then start to add the murals, or are we just going to start painting sections of the tank with these images?
Exactly what I just asked.
Because the issue and concern I have is that if we don't cover the entire tank, at least with a uniform color, I'm not sure how that's going to look.
Yeah,
in the city, so.
It would have a uniform color, so it would have the canvas per se would be prepped for the painting, and so it won't be something.
The canvas will be there, then the images will just be updated. It'll be a living.
That is
piece.
correct, Councilman.
I love the idea. I'd love for this to kind of kickstart the arts in public places idea, and really just kind of take this off, because this is going to be a great staple for our city. This will be a recognized piece in the community, and this could actually be a continuation on the Arts in Public Places program. So thank you, Mayor, for bringing this to the table.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilwoman Lanier.
Yeah, I certainly support this project as well. It hits all of the areas of art in public places, social justice and equity. And I think that this is something that the city of Riviera Beach would welcome. I know the residents would, and I think that it'll be a great addition to coming across Blue Heron and Barack Obama Highway and Blue Heron Boulevard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just a follow-up question. How quickly can we get this project procured and started?
If I tell you how many times the mayor calls me on this project, it's going to move quickly, very quickly. If it could start tomorrow, it would start tomorrow. So Ms. Pimsel and I have already had the preliminary conversation, so we're going to move quick and hopefully could have something done before. Our goal is really to try to do something before Thanksgiving, if not before Thanksgiving, by the first week of December.
And do you need a motion?
Yes, sir, I do.
I have one more question. Are you going to put out some kind of an RFP for the artist to do these?
We're going to put together, I have had conversations with CRA staff with regards to the process that they followed for the artists, so we're going to put out some type of notification to artists or reach out to artists. We are certainly looking for those that have local ties to our community, because we think that that's important, especially for this being the first public art piece that the city of Riviera Beach is doing versus the CRA. Is a little ahead of us at this point, but we're going to catch up very quickly.
I would just want to be sure that we get samples of their work.
Oh, yes, we're going to make sure that it is of top quality. Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
And also, if I could just throw a quick name out, I just want to make sure that we take into consideration the great John Lewis, my fraternity brother, if that's an option as well to look at, if we can make him one of those top 5 that we start with.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Would somebody please make a motion, and we can have a second, then we can vote on it?
So moved. I was
So
going to
moved.
ask. I was going to ask.
Second.
Should we add our former mayor?
We have a
Oh, so-
motion, and we have a motion and a second, Madam Clerk.
We'll come to your house and put them at your house.
That'll be on your side. Oh, we'll have to drive to West
Motion on the
Palm to do
table,
that.
properly seconded.
It's motion and seconded. It must be getting late. We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk.
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier? Councilperson Lanier?
Oh, yes.
Pro Tem Lawson?
Yes.
Chair Botel?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, you're going to have to get with Mr. Lozman when you get ready to come to my house. He knows where I live.
Thank you. Boy. Don't. Item number 15.
Madam Chair, this item will be very brief. I do want to inform the board that city staff is looking at the special events process and programs, looking at how it's done on the CRA side and looking at how it's done on the city side to ensure that there's consistency and uniformity. There is some ambiguity in the process, and it is a pretty cumbersome process and can be confusing for folks that have to go through that because we are getting requests to utilize some of our event spaces. We also want to build in a COVID compliance piece in that. The CRA has done a good job in incorporating that as people have started to utilize the facility and are acutely aware of what the expectations are, but we're looking at the policy holistically and more robustly, and also looking at our special events, what those special events look like over the next year, and what's the best way to roll them out safely and not ensure any issues resulting in the events that the city of Riviera Beach host or co-host. We're going to clarify what a co-host event is versus a hosted event versus a presenting event and versus a city event. It is my hope that as the city manager as well as the CRA director, that we can bring you a list of city-sponsored events that are adopted by the board on an annual basis for these are the city events. Anything else that falls out of that would be events that the city may co-sponsor or may be done by persons that are interested in having events in our community, and they would have to go through the appropriate permitting process. So I've pulled some information from other municipalities and hopefully would be able to provide you a shell of some recommendations at your next regular meeting in November. And so, Madam Chair, that concludes my report, just letting the board know that we need to clean up and modernize and tighten up our special events programs and procedural elements to be able to make sure it's a little bit cleaner than the process that we have in place now.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Do we have any responses to any of the questions? I should have asked you this at the end of public comments. Any of the questions raised during the public comment section?
I was going to do that under my city manager section, and I can go ahead and take that now if you'd like, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you. I'd also like, in particular, I'd also like you to address the issue of the backups and whether or not we're going to have a book or make things available at the clerk's office and so on.
So that's the first item that I have. What we will do is we will make sure that information is listed on our website, that if individuals are requesting a copy of an agenda item or items, that we will print that up for them and reserve it for them here at the event center prior to the meeting.
Thank you.
Obviously, the information is posted online, but we did not want to provide a hard copy of the book for obvious reasons. But we will make agenda items and supplemental material available to the public if they choose to just give us a call, and we'll help facilitate that. Another item that I do want to address, at your last regular city council meeting, there was some remarks made by the interim public works director concerning 35th Street, Avenue H to Avenue F. and that roadway project moving forward. I want to inform the board that I am postponing that project moving forward. We received some additional monies from the county, approximately $389,000 that we got over and above the $169,000 that we received. And we can utilize that money for a lot of other projects. And in my conversations with staff, there was a report that was done with regards to the state of roadway infrastructure in our community. And for whatever reason, that study was abandoned. So I'm going to ask staff to commission a report to look at our roadway infrastructure and networks throughout the city, and we are going to address the roadway projects based on what the need is versus it being something that staff picks and chooses from. There are a lot of other roadways in our community that are in desperate need of repair, and so one of the things that I will be bringing back to the board for your authorization is I would like to provide a letter to the county informing them that we are no longer moving forward with that particular project with that funding. We can take that $389,000 and do some housing rehabs. We can do a lot of other community-related projects because it is CDBG funds, Community Development Block Grant funds, that we can do some things to have a very meaningful and lasting impact in the community versus a specific roadway. In addition to, we know that there are other roadways in the community that are in desperate need of repair. So I will be bringing that item before the board to ask for the opportunity to inform the county that we want to move in another direction. Also, I've had some conversations with some residents in Councilman McCoy's district, and I would like to schedule an opportunity to go out there with Councilman McCoy and staff to look at a corrective action plan regarding the roadway project. There are some concerns that individuals have shared with me, and so I will work with Councilman McCoy for us to walk the neighborhoods and to inform the residents that we're going through and seeing what other issues need to be resolved and addressed. And we still know that we need to have the community conversation about the long-term plans for that roadway project. With respect to individuals not having Wi-Fi or internet access, I'm happy to report I reached out to the school district as well as Palm Beach County, and our Wi-Fi project is still slated to happen in December. So we will have a city that will have Wi-Fi accessible points for most of our communities. So that's something that's very exciting. In addition to, we've already built in the process to make sure that all our public places have Wi-Fi. So anywhere where the public convenes within the city or CRA, we're looking to light up those areas so Wi-Fi service is available. With regards to Councilperson Lanier not being present, the governor did extend the executive order to allow for remote meetings to be available to those communities that needed to utilize that. And plus, Councilperson Lanier has shared some information that has documentation about a reasonable accommodation that the agency is making to accommodate her at this particular time. So she is present for the meeting and accounted for, and doesn't fall under the language that says she is absent for meetings. She is present, and she has documentation to support that. With regards to the water rate, we are looking to have subsequent conversations with the board about the water rate. The water rate has not gone into effect. It will be publicly noticed, and there will be an opportunity for the residents to share their thoughts and perspectives with regards to the rate. The intent behind the rate is certainly related to infrastructure investments in the utility district, and it has nothing to do with pandemic pay or a shortfall. It's to prepare for a potential bond issuance of anywhere from $75 to $125 million. Our water rates compared to other municipalities is right at par. I believe the city of West Palm Beach as well as Lake Worth and other municipalities do have higher water rates. There was also a remark with regards to the resignation of the utility district director, Mr. Jimmy Johnson. That is correct. I am appointing acting director Jonathan Batista, who is the assistant director, to the acting director role effective immediately. He has a vast level of experience and expertise and has worked for Brown and Caldwell in the water and wastewater field, so he has extensive experience. And then there was a mention during the presentation about the lady that was presenting the audit. That lady is none other than our new deputy city manager, Miss Elizabeth McBride, that has a myriad of credentials and expertise, and we were fortunate to steal her from the school district. She is an attorney by trade, has studied at some excellent academic institutions, has a wealth of knowledge and experience, and has worked with elected officials, has worked in CRAs, has worked for municipalities, serving as their general counsel. So we are excited for her leadership, and we have an exceptional team with Ms. McBride, Ms. Jacobs, Ms. Noel, and all the department directors. So all of this that we're able to do is collective as a team. So I'm excited that we have Ms. McBride on board, and this was her first presentation to the board, and she did an exceptional job. And I wish my first presentation to the board went as smooth as that, but I can promise her that probably will be the smoothest. But we're glad to have her on board, and she is a very exceptional professional and is going to do great things for this city moving forward. So I'm really excited about that lady that we have on our team, because I think we're going to be better off because having her on the administrative staff. And Madam Chair, I believe that captures everything that I wrote down in my notes.
I do have one more item for you, Mr. Manager, and that is, I wonder if you would allow, perhaps if Ms. Councilwoman Miller Anderson is interested in making a short presentation, not a presentation, a few comments about the trip that she and others made down to Boynton Beach, and whether or not you and administration could schedule trips like that for the rest of us, because I think I've heard through the grapevine that it was an exciting trip and that you learned a lot about what was happening in Boynton Beach. And given that we have some big construction projects looming on the horizon, we might want to learn from what they have done. So is that going to be a possibility?
Sure, I can do that at our next meeting. I'll have a presentation for you all.
That's all right. You don't need to give a presentation. I mean, we know it.
I'm sure you want to see a presentation, Mr. McCoy.
And Madam Chair, if I may, one last item, something exciting news. When I was appointed over at the CRA, we are expediting the construction of the Riviera Beach Military Court of Honor, and we will look to have that project completed by Veterans Day. So we will have our first Veterans Day ceremony coming up this Veterans Day in November. So that's exciting news, and we're going to recognize at our Veterans Day. We'll have a plaque that will recognize our first responders as well. So we're excited about that. And Lauren has been emailing me as late as 8:50 about it. So we're having a lot of synergy and activity associated with that. So we're excited about that event coming up.
Thank you. But you will make arrangements for some of us to go to Boynton Beach, yes?
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Madam Chair, I think because all of the legislative assistants were present, that would be a great opportunity for them to provide some of that input, because I just kind of tagged on. Yeah, it was mainly your assistant who was leading the charge, so that is where your presentation
Well, then,
really
Mr. Brown, you
coming
should
from.
make yourself available for a presentation at the next opportunity. Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Ms. Miller Anderson, thank you.
I have enough to do.
Appreciate that. Do we have any discussion by city attorney?
No, Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have city council committee reports? I attended the Palm Beach County League of... Yes, Commissioner, Councilwoman Lanier.
No, I was just going to say that the Health and Human Services Committee is working on bringing a testing date to the city of Riviera Beach and its residents. It was supposed to be the end of this month, but it'll probably be the first week in November for additional testing.
Thank you. Any other committee?
Well, I hope, Madam, actually, I would wait, but I would hope it's after the election but then before the march that's scheduled for the 7th. So, Councilperson Lanier, that's the first thing that jumped out at me was the first week in November is kind of busy, at least for the organization.
We are working on setting that date. Mr. Evans and Miss Valerie Grimsley and Chief Hurd are working on setting a date that does not conflict with other city activities.
Thank you. I was at the Palm Beach County League of Cities Board of Directors meeting today, and we had a very interesting presentation about FEMA coastal flood map initiative updates. It appears that since 2017 until now, the level of flooding in the area has gone up 3 or 4 feet in general, particularly on coastal barrier islands. And so I asked the gentleman who made the presentation to send me some information that I could share with the rest of council. That was kind of disturbing. We had a number of other topics, but I'm not going to go into them. And in terms of tourism, we have been working with Don Kolotz, formerly of Discover the Palm Beaches, to develop a tourism master plan. Liz McBride and Marcia Noel and Mr. Brown and I have been working on that endeavor. And we'll be presenting that to the council in the near future. Any statements by the mayor and city council, starting with Mr. McCoy?
Thank you. Mr. Evans, the COVID-19 committees, the appropriations of the $25,000 for each committee, is that money been carried over from the last budget year?
Yes, sir, it has been carried over.
Okay. All right, good enough. Where are we at as far as timelines for the charter amendment workshops, and do we have a possibility to have 2 readings and a workshop before whatever that deadline is that's proposed by the supervisor of elections?
The city attorney and I had some conversations with regards to that. One of the things that we thought we could do, and if it's the pleasure of the board, since we still have the opportunity to have digital meetings until November, is host a digital workshop to get input from the board, because we can get that input and then bring back proposed ballot language at your second meeting in November for first reading, and then second and final reading at your first meeting in December, and still meet the timeline to get the information to the supervisor of elections. So we certainly wanted to see if the board wanted to explore that opportunity. We can set it up for Wednesday after 5:30 to get direction from the board as to what you'd like for us to draft, and then work with legal and the clerk's office to put things on the ballot for consideration.
Well, that sounds okay. I just am thinking, we got proposed dates for parliamentary training, which was kind of basically tying our hands, at least mine it was, as far as the schedule is concerned. But, we're back in a in-person setting, and I certainly don't think that I'm suggesting that we don't do it, but, I don't know how important that is. But if we're going to spend 4 hours, I would much rather it be 4 hours on doing something that'll help us out fiscally with the challenges that the charter amendments places with the county. I'm sorry, with the fiscal issues with the charter provision requiring us to deposit or set aside monies for the catastrophic fund. So, I would certainly be open to hear what administration has in that respect. And lastly, so I don't know if the chief is still here, but I think October 30th, trunk or treat at the City of Riviera Beach Municipal Complex. It is a drive-through trunk or treat event.
Yes, sir.
So I will be there, and I would expect that we have obviously social distancing and members from various departments participating. So that is August 30th, and I believe it starts at 6:00 p.m. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilman Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just have some notes. The charter amendments for the ballot, I was going to ask about that and bring that to the colleagues. But if we're going to do a workshop and discuss it, then I'll wait to bring the comments for recommendations. Mr. Evans, can you have a update? Do we have an update on the disparity study and the status of the disparity study? And also an update on our projects over on Singer Island. They were brought to us a while ago, the project from I believe the Sands Hotel and the Ocean Mall parking lot. If I could just get 2 updates on those things. And then finally, also, just a quick notice that the website that was posted was awesome. I really loved it. Miss Noel, thank you. Keeping us posted on it. You guys did a great job. It looks amazing.
Councilwoman Lanier, you have any comments?
Madam Chair, you
Yes,
want
I have a few comments. I would first like to thank.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Get an update from Mr. Evans.
I would first like. Hello.
I think I cut Mr. Evans off. Let's hear from Mr. Evans and then.
Madam Chair and members of the board, to Councilman Lawson's points with regards to the Sands Hotel, I did provide a comprehensive memorandum with regards to what needs to occur and what the developer needs to do to initiate moving forward with that process. I don't believe there has been any correspondence back since then, or there may be one about setting up a meeting to discuss that, but I have to check for sure. But we did send out a comprehensive memorandum outlining everything that needs to accomplish or needs to be accomplished for that particular project to come to fruition. As it relates to the project adjacent to that in the hotel property or the Ocean Walk property, unfortunately there's that provision in the charter that prohibits the city from entering into any lease agreement on that particular parcel for any term longer than 50 years. There's less than 50 years, I'm sorry. There's 38 years remaining on that lease. So if the developer effectively would move forward with the development of that particular asset, the city in 38 years would have to go through a competitive solicitation, and that investor may lose that investment that he or she has made in that particular parcel. So it's cost prohibitive for them to move forward with that much risk. And that is probably something that you may want to have conversation as a potential charter amendment because that provision does have some significant challenges for the redevelopment of that particular area of our community. And with respect to the disparity study, the staff has had a couple of conversations with Attorney Lee. We can provide a more in-depth memorandum to you by end of week to the board as to what we're doing, and then ultimately schedule a update presentation for the board at your meeting in November.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Apologize. Councilwoman Lawson, Lanier. Lanier.
Wow. Councilwoman
I didn't think I would make it through this meeting, so I'm just to got to the end. I'm doing pretty good here.
I just wanted to briefly give a huge thank you to Walter Sharif, who is the person who is operating the camera and also ensuring that I, during some of my health challenges, can be a part of the meetings. I know I had some technical difficulties earlier, but I really want to thank him for helping me to be able to be a part of the meetings and to be heard. I also want to say that even though the council may have some issues back and forth in terms of items that come to the council and come to the public, I want to assure the public that we are doing the very best that we can to ensure that everything that is being spent by the city, which is your tax dollars, is done in such a way that you know what is happening and that it's done in the most efficient way. I'd like to thank Mr. Jonathan Evans, Ms. Deirdre Jacobs, Ms. Liz McBride for their help in making sure that all of these issues that are on our plate, there are numerous, sometimes people just don't understand the magnitude of issues that are at our door and at our feet to be able to address every single day. And the staff at the City of Riviera Beach does it very well. And I think that the council is doing an excellent job trying to make sure that these issues are done properly and done in the best interest of the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Miller Anderson.
I don't have a whole lot. I do see that I have a presentation that I'll be working with the legislative assistants on. And that was an assignment I guess Sammy Brown had. He was nice enough to add me onto the list since I didn't have an assistant. So I was an assistant and I participated with the group. It was very informative, very exciting. And the assistant manager that gave us the tour, he came to us about a year ago and did the presentation on P3. So, and how Boynton did theirs. And I can tell you their chamber, I mean, I really was in awe of their chamber. And so hopefully when we do get our new building, we could have something very similar to that. It was a very nice looking chamber. But not just the chamber, there were a number of things. And hopefully I can get with them. And Sammy can be the lead on that presentation along with Super 8 and the others that are participating with the group. I think that's it. I just want to say thank you to everybody. I know we've had a lot going on, but I think we're doing quite a bit of positive things in the city at this time, and I certainly want to make sure that we continue on that path. I mean, when we're passing these resolutions, and it just kind of seems like we're just doing it in our sleep sometimes, but we're really getting a lot done. And we should really be proud of that. And so I just thank you all for being a group that wants to try to get some things going and so that the residents can be proud of it. Thank you, Mr. Evans and team, and Ms. Jacobs, Ms. McBride, and everybody else that participate in this endeavor, because I know it's not easy, especially when we're a very, very involved city. So, everyone is not always going to be happy, but we're working together as a team and we're trying to get things done. And I did want to did we decide who won for the census? Did Mr. McCoy win, or did we ever figure that out, Miss?
Do we, Ms. Noel, do we have a?
We can do a formal announcement at the next meeting. Because we had some issues with mail-in ballots, and
okay. Yeah, we want to make sure.
Just kidding.
Right, we can do that.
Yeah.
Do we need to get somebody over there to look? Because
we need to
some poll watchers or something.
Yeah, we need to confirm.
Stand down.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson, Councilman Lawson.
I just wanted to remind all of our residents to just please get out and vote. Voting is opened up. Early voting right here in the city is at Wells. I visited over there today, and there was just a steady line of people going through and voting. So please, residents, get out there and vote. Make sure your voices are heard. I really want Riviera Beach to just show out in this election, just getting to the polls and filling up those ballot boxes, guys.
Madam Chair, and I'm glad Mr. Lawson brought that up, because all of us were tagged in a Facebook page, a post about the Wells gym AC issue. So, Mr. Evans, if he can give an update as to whether or not that's been fixed.
Yes, Madam Chair and members of the board, we did get that issue resolved. Director Blankenship had crews out there immediately as soon as we found out the information. In addition to, we did get some concerns with how close the voting booths were, and those have now been separated by at least 20 to 25 feet. So the supervisor of elections did assist us in making that happen. One of the other things I want to ensure to all the residents that if you are concerned or you have any issues with regards to going to vote, call the Riviera Beach Police Department and we will make sure that you have your constitutional rights protected, and we are there to help facilitate, whether it's escorting you there and home. We're going to make sure that people can exercise their right to vote and participate. So if there's any questions, concerns, anything, we stand prepared to assist in any particular way or any particular fashion.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Marcia Noel and Liz McBride for helping me on the tourism committee. I want to commend the folks who worked on the new website. It is beautiful.
Yes.
It's really Great job. Bravo. I also want to thank Development Services Department for being responsive to the needs of our constituents on the island who've had some issues. And in the past, those things have taken ages to resolve, and it seems like now things are really getting done quickly. So I'm just happy about that. And I think that's all I have. If someone would like to make a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Second.
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier?
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson?
Yes.
Chair Botel?
Yes, this
Unanimous
meeting is
vote.
adjourned. Thank you.